All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. All right. This is going to be one of those before the episode starts type of deals. This is a really long episode. It's a really good episode. It's a really long episode. I live streamed on YouTube on this one too. So definitely go subscribe to my YouTube channel. You guys go subscribe to that God Shaped Mommy Hole Productions, God Shaped Mommy Hole, or whatever the fuck it is. It's there. I tweet it. It's on my Facebook. Check it out. So in this episode, me and Bryson, we had a 3-hour long Skype conversation. And I just finished editing the episode and jotting down notes. And let me tell you, within the first hour of this episode, we talked spirituality, Buddha and Jesus, cultural things, Jeff Sessions on weed, why I need weed, science and policies because of weed, white privilege doesn't exist apparently. I don't know. Policing communities, that was a big one. Minority weirdos, basically the SJWs that want everyone to fucking believe their beliefs. Fuck them, pieces of shit. Bryson got offended because I said the word pronoun, and he was like, that's messed up because I'm an amateur noun. Okay. In the second hour, all right, we talked military experiences, how autism is trivialized. We compared it smart car versus the muscle car, analogies, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Societies being standardized is the fall of mankind, basically, is what else we talked about. And then I said, we can fix that by adjusting paradigms, but, spirituality again, I go deep in spirituality always. Apparently, this is a new one. Bryson had some info. I didn't fact check it because I don't have the time. But Bryson told me a story about California used to have an abundance of water and how in the 1800s they pumped it out to the Midwest. And it's like, kind of makes sense. I wouldn't doubt it. Capitalism equals death. Middle class equals utopia. And culturalism. And then we finished off the third hour. I got lazy in the third hour and didn't want to finish writing notes. So, what does it say? Damn, I'm terrible with writing. Assimilating cultures. A bunch of restaurants started here locally in San Bernardino, California, such as McDonald's, Taco Bell, Carl Jr., Del Taco, In-N-Out. I mean, name it. It was here, started here. Awesome starts here, especially when it comes to food, apparently. Starbucks is a monopoly. And we ended it talking about my farm and animals and shit. So if you guys enjoy this episode, do me a solid, subscribe to my YouTube channel, God Shaped Mommy Hole. Just type it in, it'll pop up. In iTunes, Laughable, TuneIn, Google Play, Player FM, all of them. Look up Joint Narcissism. Narcissism is with a G in front of the N. The G is silent. It was an idea that was brought up and I was like, that sounds cool, so I'm going to use it. Do that, subscribe, rate and review, leave some comments, leave some feedback, let us know what is up, because you know what? This stuff costs a lot of money to run. This stuff isn't free. And I'm not making money from these downloads, but what would be great is if I got feedback. It would be equal to that of money. So do that for me, and I will love you long time. Thank you guys, and enjoy the episode. Bye.
Fuck you, Tony. Got a group of failures and they're all my friends. Got a group of drinks and the bottles never end.
Thank you guys again for tuning in to Joint Narcissism. As always, it's Tony, motherfucking Rager, up in the club, pocket full of dubs. I got what you need. And joining me today, one of the most downloaded episodes of Joint Narcissism with my boy Bryson.
That's me. Hey, I'm Bryson.
I like to yell. I like to yell people's names. Bryson.
Should I yell? I'm Bryson. There,
no, just your name. Just your name.
Oh, Bryson.
No. You gotta really accentuate the Bryson.
Oh, like Bryson.
Too much. You gotta bring it back
much.
like 10%. 10%.
Oh, all right. Bryson.
There it is.
That
See?
it?
That's
Is
it.
Yeah, seal the deal. Go ahead.
Damn. I'm excited. We're done with this episode. It's the best episode. Dude, I'm excited. The downloads are doing great on my show. They're improving about 500 to 1,000 a month every month. Yeah. It went up from 800 to 15 to this month isn't over and it's going to be at 2,000 by tomorrow. Easy.
That is awesome.
I'm getting close to 5,000 downloads since January.
5,000. That's really good.
Well, it's not really good. It's really good for us because we're nobodies. But if I'm going to compare myself to the big dogs, they ain't shit. That's chump change.
Chump change.
Yeah.
Trump change?
Holy shit.
Did you say Trump change?
I did. I said it's Trump change.
Trump change. Holy shit.
I got really high last night and I was listening to Alex Jones, I think. But I was listening to Tucker Carlson, the 2014 interview of Tucker Carlson with Alex Jones.
Oh, yeah. It's really good.
And I came up with this beautiful rant. Okay, so this is a high thought where I wrote it down as fast as I could without forgetting it.
It's
so
like,
it goes.
Pizza rolls. Tucker Carlson's hair looks nice.
Did you see that? Tucker Carlson's hair. My fucking light fell.
Oh, I can't see you, man. You remember? You disabled the camera for me because I'm not going to watch the stream live.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Here, I'm going to have Buddha hold the light. All metaphorical and shit.
Buddha's my man. Buddha's just a fat Asian, bro, which is totally makes sense. Especially
well, shit, dude.
Days.
In Buddhist religion, it said apparently Jesus came to visit Buddha or the religion or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was after he came back from there is when he went crazy on the bankers. That's where he was for those what 33 years or something, 30 years that he was missing.
Yeah, he was traveling through the path of enlightenment.
Exactly, and Buddha. I mean, if Jesus went to Buddha for enlightenment, that's where we should go.
Yeah.
Go to the source, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. But
I actually think, for just based on theology, I would imagine that it was Jesus obviously knew that Buddha existed.
Oh yeah.
Right? So he went to go meet him. So
what up, dog?
That Buddha there wouldn't be a way that Buddha would know that Jesus existed. You know what I mean? Because Buddha was just a man. So.
Or,
I think that's what it was. He wanted to show. He pretty much met the guy that was
the holiest holy.
Well, let's put it this way: Jesus went to travel to visit Buddha
to try to convert him. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
The most, not pure. Obviously, everyone's a sinner, but he did everything right sans religion, if that makes sense, because Buddhism isn't religion. So, so if it was kind of the idea that. It's almost insane to believe that if you believe in God and you believe in Jesus and you believe in heaven, that a person that lives their life morally good and does good by other human beings is going to hell. It just doesn't make sense. So the idea is this is all before in Southeast Asia no one knew about God, no one knew about Jesus. So he went and entertained it, and then he meets this guy that walks that path without even knowing that he should be.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like, a conversation between like-minded individuals. And honestly, I don't think that
sort of like us.
I don't think Jesus spent 1 minute trying to convince Buddha of God.
No, because real recognizes real.
That's right.
Why? Because what if God is just spiritual enlightenment? And because if God is us and we are Him, what if our souls are God? And taking the path of enlightenment is the journey to God, and it's just unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And like the big thing about the Buddhism thing is like, it's kind of in my perception of it, and like the way I depict it is, you might not find enlightenment, right? but you're going to die on your path to enlightenment, which means ultimately you're going to live a really good life. And I kind of think like is at the end of your day and when you die on the path to enlightenment and you can look back and realize that you did a very good job, you become enlightened on your deathbed. Like, is that kind of like, you know what I mean?
Everybody becomes enlightened on their deathbed. Everybody, the most common things on deathbed said was like, I spent too much time on my career. I spent less time with my family and less time with my friends. And all they ever say, almost everybody says, I wish I spent more time with my friends and family. I wish I did this stuff. These motherfuckers are saying the things that I constantly try to do. And I think the reason why I constantly try to do it is because maybe at a very young age, I realized the importance of friends and family and what it means to your soul. Because there's a part of our soul, the ego, that needs to feel loved and celebrated. And when you're not loved and celebrated, look at all the fables and stories. I mean, look at why Islam is the way it is. It's because I think it was like Abraham or something, one of the founding fathers of religion, one of the main dudes, was with the chick, couldn't get pregnant. So he fucked a slave, had his first son. Then God blessed the lady. She got pregnant with a second son. The first son is supposed to be promised the kingdom or his land or whatever. But he's a bastard.
Right.
That's why there is extreme Islam. It's because there's still that battle.
They're still fighting over which one of those kids was supposed to be the king.
Yes, it's still this childish ego bullshit. Man,
I thought that was radical Islam because of all the inbreeding.
No, it's not even because of it. We all come from all of us come from inbreeding, dude. Yeah. All of us. Right, especially white people that have European origins.
I'm talking about
right now, currently? I know. No. Religious.
Islam isn't, like, Muslims inbreed like crazy right now.
It's because it's a part of their religion.
Yeah, first cousin marriages. Like, the Jews do it too. I just looked that up.
That's gross.
Apparently, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just reading about it, and apparently, like, you know, pre-marriage rituals and stuff like that you do stand on ceremony. A big part of it in the Jewish community, especially the Hasidic Jewish community, is a blood test to make sure you guys aren't too closely related.
Yes, because you'll wind up with kids like my niece. My brother and his lady was supposed to have that shit done because they have similar genetics. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in the line, that those genetic markers conflicted with each other, and my niece came out jacked, bro. Missing a hand, like completely mentally stunted for life. Eyes are off, cleft palate. She has to feed through a tube in her stomach. She's never probably ever tasted food in her life. All this shit, dude. She's like 10, 12 or some shit.
You know what's terrible about that? And this is, no offense to your brother.
I'm not worried. Just,
but what's terrible
I already think I know what you're saying.
She'll never know that she has a terrible fucking life.
That's probably the best for her, though.
Right.
But ignorance is bliss, man.
She's never going to be like, this sucks really bad. Kill me. Mm-hmm. You know? Let me die. Yeah. Because, like, if you went from living a normal life to that, you'd be like, end it now. You know, there is no life. You're not living. You just.
It's very sad. I remember when I was like, I think I was like 10. I don't remember what age I was when she was born, but I was like, how come they didn't just like put her? I was like, why didn't they just put her to sleep? It's like even then I was very sympathetic. I was like, she's not ever gonna be normal. She's not ever gonna live a normal life. It's like, I don't like intellectually Spartan mentality. Throw the baby off the cliff. Yeah. Because the baby has no future for itself or for its community. And it's sad. It's a sad thing to say, but like logistically, it makes sense. But we're humans and we have empathy and emotions, and we know why that shit is morally incorrect, or it could be morally right. Who knows? You could have more sympathy for somebody if you're in their suffering.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. What I was talking about earlier.
Hold on a sec. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Are you recording through your mic or through your camera?
Through my mic.
Oh, then yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, all right. I just got like a notification saying that our internet connection was bad. I can't. Definitely not mine.
It's most likely mine. You know, I just upgraded my internet and it's
right.
still running slow. It's still running slow, dude. I'm about to call and complain and threaten to cancel so they'll give me some free shit.
Did you said you just changed to Charter Spectrum?
Yeah. That's no, it was really Time Warner Spectrum. But same shit though, same company.
Yeah. Time Warner bought Charter, right? So
yeah. Time Warner bought Charter a long time ago.
Yeah, and now they have Spectrum.
And then Spectrum came over.
Spectrum is notorious for having dead spots that they'll still sell internet to.
Well, if that sucks because it's the only place. Spectrum's the only spot.
And
the only place
that LAN connection, right? Like you're using a wired connection.
Yeah.
That's messed up. My last house, my rental property now, but the only person you could get in that whole area was Charter for cable, internet, anything, and their internet was super good. It's just very unreliable. So like when it was working fine. I never had a problem, and then it would just like go out all the time, and you'd call and they'd be like, yeah, well, you're in a dead zone, so it's pretty common. And you're still paying the same price as someone who
is in a good zone.
Yeah.
Well, then, let them say that to me, dude. I'll be like, well, then I want a discount. I want a discount.
I'm not assuming that that's the case. Another thing is for the Spectrum company, if you call, they have a list of your available usage, right? Like, so if you were having an issue right now or something like that, or it blacks out, like they prorate you if you ask them to.
Oh, yeah?
So all the, like, if you go like, all right, so we had a big ass snowstorm and my internet went out, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was out for 2 weeks. And I called them and asked them about, why is the internet still down? You know, what's going on? They're like, oh, we're fixing it. We're fixing it. And then I got my bill for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I called them like, hey man, I didn't have internet for 2 weeks. Because the thing, they're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll prorate you, obviously, sir, if you didn't have the services. And then I got like half of my bill back.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. But
so what topic do you want to tackle first? Because there's a lot going on right now in this world.
I think
in our government,
the smoking gun right now, I guess like the hot ember right now, for me is that terror attack in London.
It's so fucking annoying at the level of fucking ignorance of their government, dude.
It's
so
not even that. The mayor of fucking London is
what a piece of shit, dude. What a piece of shit. Fuck him. Fuck Sadiq Haman, whatever the fuck his name is. Fuck that piece of shit.
Kamud or something like that? Or no, that's the guy who fucking
Caleb. I don't know. I tweeted at him yesterday. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit, dude. He's a piece of shit, and he's a Muslim extremist. Fuck him.
He
called moderate Muslims Uncle Toms. That he's talking shit about moderate Muslims, and he wants to pass Sharia law. He wants to do all of these freedom. Islam is taking over Europe, and it is important. It is crucial for the United States to be allies with Russia at this moment in history.
There's no allies out there. All that.
We need to be allies with Russia because they're the only ones.
My enemy is my friend, right? Like,
yes, exactly. Because the religion of Islam is a bigger enemy than Russia, the country.
It's definitely bigger than a nuclear holocaust for sure.
It's crazy because that's they're calling for a complete takeover of the world. Yeah, and they're implementing it by the percentages, of Muslims occupying certain places. So once it gets to 15% Muslim population, they need to have Muslim politicians, Muslim this, Muslim that, so that they could pass laws. And then it's Islam. It's in the book. It's in the fucking book. It tells you how to run a government. It tells you how to take over governments.
Bleed them out. That's what they do.
Fucking bullshit. And look, and if people are moderate Muslims, and if people do believe in the American way and they're Muslim, good. That's fine. These extreme religious people that want to take over the world, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna fucking happen. Not here, not today. You're gonna die.
Well, America's just the wrong country. It's like, I don't know. I've been living in the South for the last eight and a half years. And You don't have the problem here, if you get my drift.
Yeah. No, yeah. You get it in all these major metropolitan areas, big cities, big communities,
and they all
thousands
vote blue.
and thousands of people.
They all vote blue. Every last metropolitan city in this country.
Yes. It's
Or
because
not.
in
I
these
don't wanna
cities,
talk
the
about
lives
that,
the lives are so good that they think voting blue is going to keep their lives good, but it's not. It's really not.
The biggest problem with all this is, like, there are people that are completely convinced that the federal government should be taking care of them.
Nope. Fuck you. Fuck whoever thinks that.
Well, it's
I hate
insane.
that shit.
It is
I hate that
insane.
shit.
Well,
It's an
like,
unintelligent, lazy point of view.
Absolutely. And the big thing that, like, I obviously, in light of recent events with budget cuts, they're like, oh, he's cutting money from Meals on Wheels. But in retrospect, why
They're getting way more.
Why
Well,
should
it's
the
not
federal
only that,
government-
dude. Go ahead, sorry, finish.
Oh yeah. Why should the federal government have anything to do with the state-run program in the first place? It's not a federal government. It's not. Congress didn't pass a law to feed people who couldn't feed themselves.
It's the state's
budgeted
job
to help, and it's like 3% of each state.
And not only that, but look how much money they're getting now. Far more than they ever got.
Well, the big thing is, and a lot of people aren't mentioning this, right? Because a tweet only has how many characters? Like
140.
140. Okay, but a lot of people don't talk about this, but most of those Meals on Wheels things that are ran by the mayors, are incredibly corrupt, and it's just a money siphon. And a lot of them aren't even feeding people. Or a big one was in Michigan. I don't want to say it was Detroit, but let's just use Detroit. I don't want to talk on my ass. Somebody look this up. It's probably not Detroit, so you don't need to fact check me because I don't know exactly what city it was. But in quote unquote Detroit, right? In Detroit, the Meals on Wheels program was fantastic, and then it's all done by volunteers too, so you're not even paying workers. So it's super fantastic. Everyone's having a good time. Boom, they get a new mayor. They change all the meals from meals to frozen TV dinners from a private company that look like slop. And then the video of it, like, these old people are like, this is all I get to eat, and it's like, I paid my taxes and I paid this, it's more like a Social Security thing kind of coming with it, and like, I can't eat this because it makes me throw up. Like, they look like dog food, man. And they found out that the mayor, or maybe it was the governor, like I said, you got to fact check it. They found out that this dude wasn't involved with it at all. Like, he had no idea that the food got changed from good food to TV dog dinners. And he had no idea that half the people got cut off the list from receiving it. But all the money was the same. The money didn't change.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So
man, I really wish people did their homework, man. Like, people are so upset. People are making all these crazy allegations on how terrible. But what people aren't understanding is everything that Trump's doing is forcing the American people to do something. Instead of being sedentary and set and stuck in their ways and comfortable, he's forcing the entire nation to be uncomfortable.
Well,
and people are upset about that. But this nation has grown from being uncomfortable. People need to understand that this nation has been great because we've been so uncomfortable. We've always battled against the odds. This was the first nation that has been this way. Freedom to the Second Amendment, the freedom to defend your life against tyranny, all forms.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic. And right now, Trump, from what I can see, he's made some mistakes, and hopefully they back off of marijuana, because that's a big deal to me, man. This shit. I can save so much money by smoking weed, and it helps me with my stress, my anxiety. When I become overwhelmed, I don't lash out at my family. I'm not angry. This is it's an important plant, and I should be allowed to smoke it because I'm a contributing citizen. I do not get anything from the system.
Aren't you allowed to smoke it legally in California? Yeah. That's not going to go away. That's never been a thing that was going to make it go away.
Sessions.
No. Sessions. All right, so Trump
can't stand that guy.
Right, so he doesn't have a track record of being a liar yet, right? It's only been 60-some days. So he said he's not changing any laws about this stuff, and each state can make their own choice. I think all Sessions is doing is mellowing out a Supreme Court ruling like the marriage for the gays. You know what I mean? And I think if a state, I am pro.
Wait, what was that about the gays? He's trying to nullify that?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
No, I'm saying what's going on is Sessions is mellowing out the idea of federal court legislation saying that it's legal in all 50 states. He's trying not to push for that. And I think that's his opinion, and if he does every other fact of his job perfect, then it's irrelevant that he said that.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't try to act on it. That's all I give a fuck. You can say whatever he can believe whatever he wants. It's as long as he doesn't try to push his beliefs on me. That's all I give a fuck about.
And his beliefs are really on a far end of the spectrum for it. I mean, there's always stats to prove, like lack of drive, lack of motivation that comes with it if you smoke at an early age. Sure. Right? There's no argument. So maybe there could be more, restraint on selling it to certain people. I don't know. I don't care enough about it to look into it. I'm not allowed to smoke weed, so I just get pissed off as more and more states are. So,
yeah. Where are you at exactly?
I'm in Virginia, so DC is legal. Yeah. DC is in Virginia. So DC is legal, but Virginia's not. But I couldn't smoke it anyways because I work on heavy machinery and stuff like that. So, but if you were high working on heavy machinery, you would never make a mistake. You would be too worried about making a mistake that you would trust me. You would never make a mistake. Weed makes you slow and conscious. It's like, hold on, I got to make sure I do everything right. I am not trying to lose a finger right now. I understand the reality,
but with the law and regulation.
Let's say the human error takes into effect, and I do fuck up, regardless of being high or not.
And then the weed gets blamed.
I'm not high.
Yeah.
That's all. That's where it's pretty cut and dry. Like if you have a job where you have like hazards, you just shouldn't be able to smoke weed. And you know what? And if you don't want a job that says you can't smoke weed, don't bitch about not being able to smoke weed. Just get a different job. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not losing any liberties. If your company says in order to work for us for this much money, the only thing that you really have to sacrifice is your time. And you can't smoke marijuana.
I wouldn't take that job.
Loss because obviously providing for somebody or yourself is more important than indulging in the use of marijuana.
But you also, like for me, all right. So this is my own little niche in that spectrum of that. I wouldn't be a good provider. Unless I was able to medicate myself. Yeah. I have ADD or ADHD, whatever it was. Like I'm hyper vigilant all the time, so I'm hyper focused, so I'm overly stressed all the time, and it's a necessity for when I come home to relax, to spend time with my family, and that should be okay because I should be able to smoke at home and then go to work tomorrow sober. Although THC is still in my body, it doesn't mean that I'm high, and that's the science needs to catch up with the policies because it's not.
I was about to get at that. Yeah, for sure. Like the only issue I think is they can't prove if you smoked before work or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean I can eat 100, 200 milligram edible and be perfectly fine. But the THC will still be in my body. So it takes a lot.
If they came to light on like some sort of weed breathalyzer, I think that would really mellow everything out.
It would, but are they going to have a across the board limit like they do with alcohol? Because everybody knows tolerance is different. With weed, I can have a tolerance that, like, if I were to do a breathalyzer, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how are you able to function right now?
Well, yeah,
because the amount of THC that's probably in my body. But so if the breathalyzer is maybe meant to catch maybe within the last couple of hours THC in the lungs, then I can see how that would be. But there should also be a field sobriety. Let's see your motor functions. Are you good? Are you able to comprehend this conversation right now and be able to function?
That's why
it's just too complicated. They're not going to go with it.
I think that's why a lot of the police officers will do a field sobriety test on people driving. But there's just way too much science behind drunk driving to change anything. Like, it's a blanket statement for a reason, but like, you're not going to have that science for weed for like, they've been doing this for 60 fucking years trying to figure out this drunk driving thing. So it's like, they found out that at, 0.08, your inhibitions are changed, and the average American, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, but if you're over a 0.08, no matter who you are, you got a lot of fucking alcohol in your system. Like 0.08 isn't like a beer and a half for anybody. So it's like 6. Be super, like some girls
also based on your body weight.
Yeah, some girls could be super shitty at like a 0.04.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get out of their DUI because they blew clean. Because they're going to fall over.
Because they're still incapacitated.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as someone who is a high functioning alcoholic that blows a 0.16, and they can function fine on alcohol, or at least there's an illusion of it. But that's what the breathalyzer catches. Like, this dude's driving drunk, and ultimately, regardless of the DUI or not, if this dude is blowing a 0.16 and there's no visual identifiers that he's been drinking, he needs fucking help.
Yeah.
So the DUI forces you to go to AA meetings and stuff like that. So I don't agree with it because it's a really expensive thing. I'm super against driving drunk because, I mean, not even just because I have a family, but I'm just against it. It seems like a really stupid decision to make. But then I'm also against the idea that all decisions made while drunk
are wrong.
No. I'm against the fact that they're not all wrong. Like, I can decide to drive and be punished for that, but I can't decide to have sex.
Yeah.
Like, if I got caught driving drunk and I was wasted, I go to court and they'd blast me like I made a conscious decision and they'd send me to jail.
Yeah.
But if I was, let's just say that this is the same girl, right? She went to jail, she went to court for a DUI and they put her in jail for 30 days.
Yeah.
But if she were to be like, last night I was so drunk and decided to have sex,
and now I regret it.
She couldn't legally consent, right? How can she legally consent to drive, but she can't legally consent to have sex?
Yes, and how can and it's fucked that men take the brunt of that. Like, as if we were able to consent.
I'm not even justifying the rape. I'm vilifying.
It's not even.
the DUI.
No, I'm not. No, it shouldn't be rape. It's only been rape these last couple of years. Like, okay, if a girl is blacked out drunk and then dudes have sex with her, that's rape. But if you have two people that have been hanging out all night, drinking, having a good time, they had sex, girl woke up the next day, then she was like, fuck, I regret this. Then she said she was raped. That's bullshit, and that's not fair. That's attack on men.
Yeah, it's not even that it's not fair. It's insulting to rape victims.
Yes. And to men who that are actually good people that would never imagine raping a woman.
And like I said, that wasn't justifying the rape. It was only vilifying the DUI. So I think, well, like we always do, we got a little off topic. I think we were talking about that.
You were talking about the London terror attack. What I want to talk about is this Abu Izzadeen, this hate preacher who was recently arrested for a terrorist attack.
20 years of criminal activity.
Yes, and he's walking free, watching the chaos of the attack.
I just feel like I should be in London right now, but like, these fucking Muslims are running rampant on these streets.
Yeah.
They bust through the gates of the parliament completely unimpeded. This guy has been here for 52 years, and he's been a criminal Islamic sympathizer for 20 of them. And they know everything about our security services. They know everything about this. 50,000 downloads of Inspire magazine last year alone, and we have over 12 terrorist planned attacks a year. Tell me this ain't Islam. Like, that's what I would do if I was him.
It's disgusting, man.
Was that
It's disgusting. That was pretty good. I wasn't mad at it.
Okay, sweet.
This whole thing that's going on right now is fucking gross, dude. This political correctness is going to be the downfall of our society if we let it take hold. If we keep pandering to these babies, these little babies who want attention. Look, if you have a gender pronoun, I don't give a fuck what it is. Look, if you sympathize with Islam, I don't care. That's your prerogative. But if I'm living my life based on facts, and I'm seeing the facts point to something, I have that right to talk about it. And nobody could tell me a goddamn thing. Nobody. Right. Nobody could tell me anything. And it's not hate. And people need to stop saying, oh, it's hate. God, it's so frustrating. Look, check this out. This is
You're
what
right. You're absolutely right.
This is what I wrote. Globalists don't understand that they are using propaganda of an antiquated society. They need to reassess the notions, the nation's reassess. Okay, so this is something I learned out of Habit, right?
Okay.
So I just finished a book, Habit and Why We Do What We Do, or whatever. I've been reading a lot of books, one book a month. This book basically says that so it talked about a case where this dude was a sleepwalker, and out of habit, he beat his wife to death in her sleep. He choked her to death because he thought somebody was invading the house, and so he thought somebody was on her, and he was attacking her, but he thought it was someone else.
Wow.
And it was purely uncognitive. It was all reaction. Sleepwalking is the same way. And okay, so we got that one instance. And then there's the habit of gambling or drug addiction.
Sure.
Habits and addictions, things that we cannot consciously control because they can come through subconsciously or unconscious. We can be unconscious and then follow through with our habit. So just like you said before, how can we be held accountable for something that we literally have no control over? I forgot where I was going.
No. I think we're on. I mean, at least we're on par with what we were talking about. My vibration mount, my microphone's acting really stupid. I should not be able to touch my mount and get these peaks like I'm getting.
Oh, it's because you don't have fancy stuff. That's why.
I need fancier stuff?
Yeah,
it looks
dude.
fancy.
No, like you gotta have like
the blue mic.
No, fuck that mic. I have these cheap $100 microphones from Guitar Center.
Oh, so
these are condenser mics. These are like really top quality microphones.
Can you see what the microphone I have?
I can't really. I got the camera in front of it.
Oh, I got a nice little condenser mic. Little pop filter.
Oh yeah, I see it. And you have that weird square triangle thing around it with strings to.
Yeah, the vibration mount.
The vibration mount? That's weird that you shouldn't hear peaks then. Just don't touch your mic, bro.
You know what? That's right. That was easy. Easy fix, man.
Fuck, where was I going with that shit? Oh, I remember where I was going.
The cognitive and the uncognitive.
So what, back in the 80s, in the 70s, and the early 90s with the Cold War bullshit, how they would use propaganda and they use statistics and numbers to gauge consumer habits and all this stuff. So that's basically what the media is doing today. They're trying to use habits. They think the majority of the people are paying attention to the news. So they're using old, antiquated propaganda to try to manipulate us into their agenda. But now the thing is now that we live in a time of information, that propaganda doesn't work. It doesn't work. It only works on the really stupid. And I promise you, there's fewer stupid people there paying attention than there are intelligent people paying attention.
Speaking of stupid people, did you see... Oh, man, I had a discussion yesterday. I tried to keep it as a discussion, so I ended up breaking the conversation apart. I put something on the internet yesterday in response to a video talking about white privilege. And I said it doesn't exist. And here comes that was like opening the damn floodgates, man. Did you? Oh, you probably didn't see. I should have tagged you in it. But this is all in the perspective of the stupid people who refuse to open their eyes or, check sources or check information.
Yeah.
So there's a video that I think it's very well done. It's not very insulting. I think the guys were trying to get a point across. Now, however inaccurate I think the point is, I think they did it in a acceptable manner, right? So so I didn't say anything bad about it. I just said white privilege does not exist. And I don't necessarily believe that, right? But in response to this exact video, I do. So a white woman says, yes, it does. And so I reply, no, it doesn't, right? Because I didn't know where she was going with that. And she says to me, if it doesn't, then explain how the video is wrong, okay? And in order to save some time, the first statement in the video says, if you haven't been considered a thug, a racist, a lawn mowing guy, or an immigrant for just standing there, then you have white privilege. And that's the only thing I needed to respond to her. And so I go in and like, in order for white privilege to exist, each and every ethnicity must be proportionally disadvantaged. Mm-hmm. And when the vast majorities are white in America, it's not crazy to see the numbers working in their favor because they're the majority. It makes sense that more white people are in power because there's more white people. And due to the fact there is more white people, at what point does the privilege kick in? And if it does, which you're saying it does, what are the disadvantages of being a non-white? Statistically, there's no proof that my life in America is or will be any better than my black or other colored brother if we are born in the same conditions, right? And that, I thought that was neutral. And the response is, first of all, you can't even fucking spell, and yet you're so above other races that you can't admit to something as obvious as white privilege. No one, right? This is ridiculous. No one is born in the same conditions is what you don't get. You were born into white America as a white man. Your black brother, quote unquote, like, you know, trying to condescend, was born into America as a black man. There's a reason why it's called white America. The majority of people who are given the opportunities to succeed here are white people, which I clearly stated. The majority of the people given opportunity here are white because the majority of the people here are white, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion, right? So I even proved myself wrong when I pull up the stats. But do you think America has a specific race or something? Now she's doing what liberals like to do. They like to control narrative into forcing you to have an opinion on something that you didn't even speak of. They either do that or they'll state your opinion of something without you mentioning it and then disagree with it, you know? And so the issue, do you think that America has a specific race because America is a melting pot of cultures, which it is not? And it is that because white people keep this from happening, you maybe should check your stats because stats show the other ethnicities in America is disadvantaged. So, you know me, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll look at the stats.
Okay.
Man, I was wrong. I thought white people had the advantage statistically, right? Obviously, white people do. It's white America. Yeah. But I wouldn't consider that white privilege. I just think it's catering to a majority, right? And that's not me being... I mean, I feel like there is some sort of white privilege, but I don't think it's what's mass-produced for the media, if you get my drift. So I was like, okay, I'll use the stats. Well, for my first point, saying that everyone born in the same conditions have about the same chance to succeed, I reply, 90% of Americans are born into the bottom 20% of wealth will not be in the bottom 20% of wealth within 15 years. Right? So that's 90% of America have the same chance. Right? So that's fair. That's fair. I use the AEI statistics showing that acceptance rates to medical schools at average for a GPA of 3.5, it's 81% for blacks and 29% for whites. So I don't think that white people have the advantage in medical school. Graduation rates from colleges coast to coast nationwide, right?
Yeah.
Blacks are 55.4% likely to graduate, while whites are 60. Now, whites are 63% of the country, and blacks are only 13. So now the stats are still skewed in the black Americans' favor, which is a good thing, right? Or at least it's good for her point, because I'm proving her right, you know? And so I say that, and then I explain, you know, my opinion of it, and it's kind of meaty, but I'll give you the gist. I say those stats straight up show that there's anything but white privilege. Not that white people are better, and not these other people are worse, but that America's pretty fair across the board. And if we look at stats, which I wasn't going to do because I didn't want to prove anybody wrong, I just had an opinion of it.
Yeah.
Statistically, white people have less of an advantage just in the odds based on stats that I get here. They have less of an advantage just because they're not black or Mexican or Asian. And that's all I said. I was like, but I do not agree that black people aren't persecuted. I don't believe that other ethnicities aren't treated differently. I don't believe that, but we're just going off stats, right? And so she asked me, she's like, you need to fact check your stats. And I do that, right? So I give her those stats, and then she's like, stats don't prove anything.
What the fuck?
So in order to keep my composure and not be the dickhead that I can be sometimes, I just avoided the conversation because I thought she was really interested in having a conversation about it, right? Because
People are not.
She was a little bit cunty in her first response, and
It's because she's coming off of a high horse. Look.
no. The
There's
worst
that-
thing
there's
is
that
she's
thing
coming
called-
off. She's a
sorry.
white woman having white guilt. Who taught her that? I want to find the person who taught her that she should be guilty for being white.
The
I would
media,
like to slap
nobody
them
should
across
feel.
her face.
Look, why should anybody feel guilty? It's not our fucking fault. We weren't in charge. We didn't call the shots. Like, I'm only half white. I got zero privilege. Zero
I am
privilege.
full white and have no privilege.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I literally, the only thing I am as scared of the cops as anybody else, as like the next guy. Like, when I get pulled over,
Yeah.
I'm not fuck the police. I'm like, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. That's the difference. That's the difference. Look, I get it, man. Look, the police, the police in our country are fucking cowards. The ones that
More or less.
more
for
than
sure.
less. There are the good
Yeah.
ones. There are good ones. I see it all
I
the
think
time.
a lot of the small town cops are like what you want cops to be. You know what I mean?
Yes, very friendly, very community oriented. But when you get into places
Like
like
SB?
San Bernardino or New York or
260,000
Chicago, it's, you know, you get all these big populations, and then there is zero connection between community and policing. Zero connection. And then and yes, black people are very unfairly treated by the police. Very. And that's lingering racism. And I promise you, it's not going to last much longer. And it's, you know, it does suck. It does suck that a lot of really racist white guys do become cops. For that very reason, they do. Because
Do you
they are
think that-
people and they suck.
Do you think a lot of racist white people become cops just to arrest black people?
For their, I believe so. I don't think,
think so?
the majority. I think it's a minority, and those are the minority that get the
It's gotta
light
be
in the
a
media.
crazy minority, though, right? Like,
But think about it. Think about it. Think about the SJWs right now. It's at,
Yeah.
like, let's say UC Berkeley. There was only 70 protesters that were actually physically rioting when there was like 1,500 of them there. Right? But they got the media exposure. If you think about it, like, you see these videos of cops just willy-nilly shooting people for, like, me and you. If we were in a position, and we pulled this guy over, and he's like, all right, I'm getting my wallet out. And he reaches for his back pocket. Are you going to pull the trigger? You're going to wait until you see. I'm going to wait until I see something. That's just the way I am. Because, look, when you take a
cop.
position, this is what I believe. When you take the position of a police officer, you're acknowledging that you have to uphold a higher moral standard than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You're acknowledging that your life is on the line. And you're acknowledging that these people's lives are in your hands. And I think it is more morally and more sophisticated for you to accept the fact that your life is on the line. For you to not just pull the trigger on somebody because you're scared for your life. If you're scared for your life, then get a different job. Get a different fucking job, because your job is to police the community and ensure safety. Now, if you are causing the fear in the community, and if you are causing death, unwarranted death in the community, if you are judge, jury, and executioner, you're going to be hated, and rightly so. Rightly so. I don't care how hard the job is. I don't care what they have to go through on a daily basis. They knew that when they applied. And there should be maybe counseling. There should be other shit, but I call bullshit when people are afraid for their lives. It doesn't give you the right to end people's life because you're afraid for your life, unless you're legitimately.
Logic. All right, but I think that you're making a logical standpoint on a very illogical concept.
I don't think so, because I've seen videos of cops wrestle down a black dude and not hurt him once, not even tase him. And he had a gun, and he was going for the gun, and he was going for it. You see what I'm saying? Like,
point that every single individual human being should react the exact same way to any high pressure situation.
When we join the military, are we not trained to do that?
Yeah, we're also trained, right?
Exactly.
But
That's the
it's not
point. A
even
lot
that.
of the
It's not
police
even that. It's
are
not even that,
veterans.
right? I'm in the Navy, so I'm non-combative. Right, so
Yeah.
I don't know anything about combat. I don't know how to handle any kind of experience. I've never had a bullet fired at me. I've shot
Yeah.
plenty of guns, but I've never shot at somebody. I've never had that. I have no idea how I would react. Right, but you don't become a police officer the same way you become an Army infantry.
No, and that's a part of the problem. The 6 months
No,
of fucking
that-
training. 6 months, dude. 6 months of training.
No. What I'm saying is you
Bullshit.
don't become a police officer to be a fucking soldier.
Very
So why-
true, but they
why
are.
would they train you? Why
They
would
are,
they train
though.
you? Why would they train you like a soldier if you're not supposed to be one?
You should be trained in methods that are effective, regardless of where those training methods come from.
And what?
Regardless.
What would you consider
De-escalation.
effective?
Look at-
you're arguing that every situation should be apples to apples, and every reaction to every
But it's-
situation for every human being should be the same.
No, I'm not arguing
I don't
that. I'm not
argue
arguing that.
these
I'm
cops
arguing
that are
training should
fucking
give
up
us
are
this.
doing shitty stuff. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm arguing the fact that you said you have a very logical standpoint, which I agree with, but it's a very illogical way to. You can't get that across. It's impossible.
It
You
can't be
tell
true
someone
because
how they're supposed to react.
I just listened
getting
to a
shot at,
podcast. I
or
just
thinking
listened
they're gonna
to a
get shot at.
podcast on NPR. Let me name the episode so other motherfuckers can go to it. But it had a police chief. I forgot where, but they had him on, and he explained, how he's appalled by all these shootings and all these things, and how what he does to mitigate those things, and how he's constantly. It was Shots Fired Part 1 on Radiolab. Shots Fired. Okay,
part
this is
one.
about.
All right, we'll write
This
that
was
down.
based
Hold
on.
hold
This was.
I'm writing that down.
All right, Shots Fired. Yeah, listen to that. So basically what he said is a lot of the times the reason why people are innocently shot is because the officer has his fucking finger on the trigger. Okay? Guns 101.
Yeah.
You never put your finger on the trigger unless you intend on shooting, ever. Guns
I know
101.
that.
Okay, so that he found that is the majority of the problem when it comes to these innocent shootings. It's because you got a motherfucker that's scared. So he automatically pulls his fucking gun out. He's got his finger on the trigger. A guy reaches for his wallet and he shoots. That's bad training.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
terrible.
not- like I said, I'm
training.
not denying
It should
that
be
these dudes are
simple,
fucking up.
dude. It should be levels of escalation. He shouldn't have his hand on his gun. He should have his hand on his taser first.
Okay.
All right,
And then you
'cause
watch the videos of the dudes getting tased while they're beating the fuck out of cops.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
arguing
it's okay.
or
He can.
vilifying anything like
A
this.
cop should be
just-
allowed. A cop should be allowed to get his ass beat. Because if he has backup, he does not. His life is not on the line. If it's a naked dude or a cracked out guy and he's just going crazy, he does not deserve to be shot.
No, I agree.
So what I'm saying is more intelligence, more training.
All right. So, in what world do you think that cops are clairvoyant enough to think that if I get in this scuffle, this guy is not going to kill me? That's all my argument is.
It just comes down to
honestly,
training.
You had a very logical standpoint that I absolutely agree with. 100%.
It just comes down to training, man. It's
You can't train for real world experience like
You
that.
can.
You can't.
You
No,
can.
you cannot.
Yes, you can. Jiu-jitsu. You can train jiu-jitsu. You could train.
What is PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right, and why do soldiers get it?
It's
soldiers
because
that have been,
it's
soldiers
yes.
that have been doing the same thing for 20 fucking years.
It
why
triggers
are
a
they
reaction.
getting
It
PTSD?
triggers a habit.
Right.
It triggers our subconscious
fucked
habit.
up. They're fucked up mentally.
Yeah.
Right. But they have all the training. They shouldn't have PTSD. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to argue and get all crazy on this. Right?
This is
I agree with you.
I'm agreeing with you too.
100%.
Here's the thing to your argument: training for how to react to PTSD. You go to classes. You go to therapy. That's training. Without training, we're fucked because we are creatures of habit. And if we want to be better at anything, we have to constantly maintain the habit of training, constantly maintaining the habit of growth, constantly maintaining the habit of being better than anybody else. If the police force did that, they would be able to de-escalate a situation in a proper way. They would know how to talk to people so that it wouldn't escalate them emotionally and trigger them into a habit that is not good for their health.
How would you... all right, so maybe I'm just ignorant on it.
London or UK has great a great police force, and they practice these methods.
They don't use guns.
Yes, and they have methods to disarm a knifed individual or a gun, or they have all these training methods. Why can't we not adopt these methods? We still have guns. We have a last resort.
60 million people. I think that's a big part of it.
What?
I think it's because the UK doesn't have a population of 360 million.
Yeah, but we're controlled by state, not all federal. It isn't all one accumulative. Now, if each individual police department in trouble areas adopted a more hardcore training method to better their policing, to increase community, then those environments would change gradually.
What money are they supposed to do this?
Huh?
With what money? They're supposed to increase the training. Somebody's got to get paid to do the training.
It's really crazy because police forces in the U.S., on average, it takes 6 months to become a cop. That's stupid. 6 or 9 months. It's stupid. That's dumb, dude.
In retrospect,
it takes like 3 years for UK to become a cop.
Well, in retrospect, because we'll just go back to the original discussion about it, it only takes 3 months to go to Iraq and be a soldier on the front line.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm like I said, I agree 100% with your logic on it, and the standpoint is great. I can't see
it happening logistically.
A realistic implication because there's so many cops in America, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Like you could probably, there was like like how charter schools worked when they first were founded. It's like we made a charter school, let's see if it works, and now they're outperforming public schools like crazy.
Yeah,
maybe you can find a large yet small police force and do an independent study. And then that's pretty much how the military works. Like since we were talking about the military, like they find one weakness, they train it, they fix it in a small sense, and then they implement it in the entire military. I guess you could do something similar to like that, and I think that's what the chest cams were for. Was like there's no way because there's no way you can account for human error, and there's no way you can account for adrenaline, and there's no way you can train a police officer. Right? You can't train a police officer to account for human error or adrenaline because you're not training soldiers. The last thing you would ever want to do is train police officers to be as cold as soldiers.
Yes, very true. And yet they have SWAT teams, all the riot control.
But SWAT teams, it's not SWAT officers that are shooting the black kids in the streets.
No, very true. Very true. And it comes into that realm of that you can't train everybody.
Right.
But these training, it should be available because we live in a time of information now. And there's a fucking bug on me. We live in a time of information. All information is available right now on the internet. Now, if a police force wanted to gradually improve their thing, right, they could learn newer de-escalation techniques via the internet, via YouTube, watching tutorials, and then implementing it into the force in small squads. Right? The problem is, this is the main problem. It's what you're saying is that I'm not accounting for the human ego, human error, and logistics.
Sure.
But here's what I'm saying. None of that shit should matter. It comes down to the bottom line. What is the job of the police force? Originally,
to protect and serve.
Originally. But now it's no longer that. Supreme Court ruled that it is not the police officer's job to protect and serve. It is the police officer's job to uphold the law.
Uphold the law. But that's the judge's job.
Nope. Not according to this judge ruling that was, I think it was from like 2012 or something. It's something I talked about years ago and I made a big deal about it.
Oh, okay.
But it's the law is making it so that police officers can willy-nilly have human error and there will be no consequences. Mm-hmm. If you, right, human error, fucked up a machine.
Yeah.
And it was something that you should have known. What happens to you?
Depends on how many times I've done it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I was talking about, like with the training, like, I don't have the numbers in front of us. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but the big thing that I think about, like I said, I'm 100% with you, and my standpoint on it. We've already talked about it. I'm super fucking against the cop police violence in the first place. 100% against it. I'm just taking a neutral standpoint here. because it would be ridiculous if we were both on the same page for this, you know, without, because what's the point of discussing it?
Yeah.
And then, but realistically, I think you'd have to look at if I'm going to make an assumption here, right? There's no way that 100% of these unarmed, unnecessary shootings, well, let's say unprovoked, right? Let's say unprovoked shootings were by repeat offenders. There's no way that 100% of it is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's there's no way that, I don't even think there could be a double-digit percentage for how many people have done it more than once. You know what I mean? So in that sense, there is no possible way to set up a trend, if you get my drift. Like, it's almost like being fucked up and saying, all right, well, if this guy shoots another dude the same way, we'll know what to look for in other people. You get what I'm saying? But like,
yeah, but that's
if it only
assuming that
happens
they
once,
yeah,
it only happens once. There is no proof that it's an accident. There is no proof that this person was out to get somebody. It's hard to find where the error was, is what I'm getting at. It's hard to find the point of failure. And this is, like I said, if you only let this cop do it once, you're not going to find the point of failure for all the cops. So it's almost like saying, let this cop shoot 3 or 4 more people so we can figure out. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. You'll get those answers in that podcast. It was a really good podcast.
That was the Shots Fired Part 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's based on, it had that one police chief is doing really good, and he understands all these things. And look, man, I can't remember. I listened to it like last week when I was working.
Is it a police chief or a sheriff?
I don't remember.
David Clark?
I don't know. Let me check the show notes. I'll check the show notes real quick. Show notes. In Ben Montgomery, a couple years ago, Ben Montgomery, reporter at Tampa Bay Times, started emailing every police station in Florida. He was asking for any documents created from 2009 to 2014 when an officer discharged his weapon in the line of duty. He ended up with a 6-foot-tall stack of reports, pictures and press clippings cataloging the death of 828 people by Florida police. That's a lot of people in a 5-year span, dude. 828 people killed by the police in 5 years, man.
In 5 years.
Jad and Robert talked to Ben about what he found, crunched some numbers, and then our reporter, Matt Kilty, takes a couple of files of Ben. I think it's Ben Montgomery, maybe. I don't know.
That sounds like a name. I'm not 100% sure. But
right here.
That sounds familiar.
It was desk and brings us stories from inside them, from a network of grief to a Daytona police chief. So it was Daytona's police chief.
At the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
as long as it's not Minnesota, it's not the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. This guy, he talked about how they got down there. It's crazy down at Daytona Beach. Spring break, they deal with a lot of arrests, and since they're constantly arresting people down there, like this police chief implemented a new way to handle arrests, because he said, after looking at some of the reports, that it's a shame the way things are being handled by certain police officers. And if you look at it from just a pure humanistic point of view, it's all just cowardice. It's just cowardice. It's just fear. It's all fear driven, and they cover that a lot. That they're scared. The cops are scared because they see black people as dangerous, as the enemy. And that comes down to how they're raised, how they're treated. It's what it comes down to, because the way you're grown, your nurture, how the things that affect you also change who you are as a person. So if this white cop, all right, I'm throwing color. If this white cop grew up being picked on by black people, and he's only had negative experiences from black people, every black person is the enemy. And he's scared every time he pulls them over. So maybe that should be a vetting process to prevent someone from becoming a cop in a black majority neighborhood.
Sure.
Because a lot of times,
I can dig that for sure.
Yeah, a lot of times you need, like me. If I was a cop in a black majority neighborhood, I would be the coolest fucking cop, because I understand the mentality of the people that I'm policing.
Until you're gunned down for being a cop by the black community.
But that's assuming the idea that the black community inherently hates cops, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and it's only because the cops lack community. There's no community. There's no building community. If you have a community, you have respect, because then those people know you for exactly who you are, not just a person behind a badge gun. Now, see, when you live in these major metropolitan areas and you see that individual, he's just a person with a badge and a gun. We don't know him. I don't know his history. I don't know what he's been through. So when he starts fucking treating people like shit, he's automatically a piece of shit. But if you grow up in a community and you become a cop in your community and you know people and you know their heart,
piece of shit, it's like, wow, that's really out of character.
Yes. So if, let's say, I met a kid that I've known my whole life, and now I'm a cop, and now he's a grown up, and he hit some hard times and he's fucking up and he needs some help. If I didn't know him, I would just jail him and throw him and treat him like a piece of shit. But if I knew he was a good person, he's just going through some hard times, I'm going to treat him a little different. I'm probably going to help him out rather than incarcerate him. Because sometimes we just need help.
Right. No, I agree. I definitely agree with this. So like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate, right? So for this conversation. All right. So when you, let's say I'm the white cop now, not you, right? And I grew up in a black area. And I was never picked on by black people. Let's just say that happened, okay? But I grew up in a very black area. I know what happens, and I know what... And this is, like, I'm never, ever going to say that black people are bad people.
No.
I'm saying, like, I know what it's like to live in a poor black community, and I know what happens in poor black communities. So that's like the things we're talking about. So if I became a white cop in that poor black community, I'm not worried about being a white cop and worrying about black people. I'm worried that I'm wearing a uniform and I'm statistically more likely to be killed by a black person in a black area than a white person in a black area. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Right? So I'm not saying like statistically I'm going to be killed more likely. More likely by a black person, but it's almost
a higher chance.
more likely to be killed by a black person in a black area.
The higher chances go up. And it's, look, growing up the way I grew up, I've only had really one incident where I had a beef with a black guy.
I've had beefs with Mexicans like my whole life.
It's only been Mexicans, dude. It's only been fucking Mexicans, and I'm half Mexican, and I only date Mexican girls. And I don't hate Mexicans. I don't hate them. No, not even. But I can't. I tell you what, I don't fucking trust them. I don't trust ghetto Mexicans. I don't trust them. I don't. Because I just know. I know their nature. I grew up around them. I know how this is going to be very abrasive for anybody listening. How culturally fucking stunted ghetto Hispanics can be.
No, that's what we talked about last time. Assimilation, man.
Yeah.
It's generation after generation of shitting in the street.
Yeah, and all this shit's scary, dude. You know, you got this integration of forcing people to behave a certain way so that the minority fucking weirdos. Yeah, I'm calling them weirdos. Fuck you guys. You guys are weirdos. The minority weirdos can feel, I don't know, what would you call that?
Comfortable?
Even then.
Complacent?
Even then, like,
that's what the thing that
the majority of Americans today, okay, the majority of Americans today don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. I don't care if my neighbors are gay, and I don't care if my neighbor identifies as an astro-gender robot. I don't fucking care. As long as he's not coming into my yard and
it up.
You know what I mean? And all that matters is that all that should matter for each American is that their household is taken care of and that they're good. And if you live around a bunch of weirdos, fine. As long as they're good people and they think they're robots, or they think they're fucking asexual, or they think they're a cisgendered fucking whatever the fuck the pronoun is. It shouldn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
Did you just say pronoun?
Yeah.
That offends me.
Oh,
because I'm an amateur noun, and only, you're saying I'll never be a pronoun?
You'll never be a pronoun, bro. You're just going to be a noun.
You cisgender male rapist.
I'm a rapist with my words.
Yeah, you're a literal grandma's grandma?
What? A what?
I lost my train of thought.
I'm trying to...
I agree with you, man. I agree with that whole thing. Like, you shouldn't give a fuck, right? But at what point, and this is an argument, at what point does not caring about who's around you affect you? Like, at what point, when does it start affecting you, right? Because, like, we can use San Bernardino, exactly. If I live in an area that's now predominantly populated by, I was going to say infested, and that's really fucked up. But I was going to say predominantly populated.
That's a good choice of fucking adverbs.
Well, they're not cockroaches, man. But, like, let's say that it's now predominantly populated by non-assimilated immigrants, okay? Mm-hmm. San Bernardino is full of illegal Mexicans.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of what San Bernardino is in a non-assimilated fucking cultural melting pot.
But what fucking pisses me off about it is it's not Mexicans in America, it's Americans living in fucking Mexico. Like, that's what it is. Like,
yeah, I can see.
You've been to Mexico, have you?
I've been there once in 2010.
Okay, well, I've been, all right, so when I was in Tecate.
It was like San Bernardino.
It's exactly like San Bernardino. When I was in Tecate. And Tecate's a fucking shithole in Mexico. Yeah. Right? So when you're thinking about, like, what you think of most of Mexico, right? You think of it as non-developed, blah, 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 blah. Tecate's like that. It's like a really shitty city. I won't talk about the people. I didn't interact with anybody. The one lady I shopped from a convenience store was very friendly. but the place was run down, right? And it looked 100% identical to 13th and Waterman.
Oh, wow.
Really? That's exactly what Tecate. Oh, yeah. Like, the streets were the same. The stores looked the same. All the bodegas looked the same. Even the graffiti looked the fucking same.
Dude, look at this shit. You can't even see. Send
it to me on Skype.
Your Skype doesn't show up at all.
What are you talking about?
On the YouTube live, because we're live right now, it's got your screen, but it's all black.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's fucking annoying, though.
Has it been the whole video that's been going on?
Yeah, that's why you've seen me fidgeting with my phone and shit.
I can't see you doing shit, right? Because
because on here it shows up. On the OBS it shows up. It's there.
Let me see. Maybe it's because you're streaming it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break. All right, let me we'll stop streaming and then
I'm on there.
Wait, live?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Oh, man.
Let's take a break anyways. I'm going to pause my recording.
Oh, shit. All right, stop. Stop recording. I need to get some water.
What up, everybody? It's Razor.
This is Fear.
And MDI. And we are Fifth Cast, the premier show of the FYFC Podcast Network.
Broadcasting straight out of GCA. We like to talk. Hell, we'll talk about anything.
World events and personal stories.
Technology and pop culture.
And once even, pterodactyl porn. Seriously, that's a thing. Google it.
New episodes are available every Friday on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Also, subscribe to the video podcast on youtube.com/FYFC podcasts.
I'm not sure why you were yelling, but that was excellent.
Now fuck your face and back to the show.
We said normal voice.
I don't know if I like
that one. And we're back. Thank you guys for, okay, so we went through a whole bunch of technical difficulties, and YouTube, we were streaming the first hour on YouTube, but this motherfucker wasn't showing up, and you didn't hear his audio, so I'm just sitting there.
Like a retard.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and this, and this, and this, and this, and it just...
That's so funny, man.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's basically what they heard in the first hour. Yeah. That's so funny. But now we got it. See, it's good. He's in Virginia. I'm in California, and we're working together, and we fucking problem solved, and we troubleshooted. And now, for future, I know how to do this. You know how to do this in the future. So it's beautiful, the learning. People should share that shit. Nobody shares the experience of learning together anymore ever since we graduated high school.
It looks good, too. I'm watching it.
That shit's fun, dude.
Okay. All right.
Good. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to move this here.
Should I take the hat off, or should I let the hair out?
I don't know. How bad is your hair?
I got long hair, huh? And you know, when I was before I quit the military, before I got out, I had hair about this long. I really did, but I slicked it back and they couldn't tell. And then I remember my last annual training that I did. I was in 400 Liggett, and I was showering, and one of the E7s was in there showering, and then he was like, "You know your hair's kind of long, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, "All right."
Good talk.
Good talk. You know, he couldn't really hate because professionally it looked like it was short. You know what I'm saying? I got it cut just right to where it could slick back and it would look short. But if it was dry, that shit would look like I had a mane.
My buddy Brandon. His hair was so fucking long when he got out of the Navy.
Really? Like getting out or post getting
out? He got out of the Navy. It was so long. Oh yeah.
Really?
It's.
How do they like from the Army's perspective, the Navy's a little more slack on things like that.
Actually, negative.
That's a negative.
They're more slack on the boat because there's the barber shop is it's just a dude cutting people's hair. He's not a barber.
It's the chill spot. That's the chill spot.
So the boat is a little bit more slack on haircut rigs. But when you're not attached to the ship, you have to have your hair
in the civilian world, or when you're portraying yourself to the world. Your hair can't be
longer than 4 inches. You have to have a fade. Like you have to have your hair taken care of. You can't have a beard. All that good stuff. But
don't forget to share this shit.
I already put it up, dude. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you did? All right. Did you put it out on Facebook? All right, I'm gonna copy it. Right. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, but his hair was so long. Like he would do that slick back thing you're talking about, but if we were working and his hair started getting because he was sweating, he looked like a savage, man.
Dude, I was such a beast. I was such a fucking beast in the military, and I was so underutilized up until the end. It's so sad because if I was treated and utilized the way I was in the end from the beginning, I would be a lifer right now.
You think so?
Yeah. I'm fucking confident I would be a lifer for sure. Because I would have moved up so fast. Before I got out, they offered me my 5. The last 2 years of being in the reserves, they seen my leadership quality, and they were like, fuck. All of them were like amazed because the first 4 years, everyone, you know how the military is. Perception is everything. Like the moment you make a name for yourself, that's the name that you're going to carry for a long time. That's how the military works. So forever, I was known as a piece of shit because of what happened when I was in Germany. I drank a 3 liter of beer I drank it in 41 minutes and 51 seconds. A 3 liter of beer, okay? In under an hour. And I was, in a matter of 15 minutes, dude, I went through every stage of drunk, emotion, everything. I tried to fight people. I was sad. I was celebrating. I was crying, all this shit. And then the next day, I got in trouble. I got written up, and I was branded a fuck up from that very moment. And I was never given a chance up until the last 2 years of being in the military. And that's when I met Terry, who people have listened to on here. And there was another sergeant that was in charge of me. He was a staff sergeant. And he's the one, he pulled me to the side and told me, he was like, hey, everybody's already told me all about you. He's like, but you know what? I'm going to give you a chance. I'm not going to listen to a damn thing they said. I'm going to let you show me who you are. And I did. And there was the motor pool sergeant. He loved me too because anytime he had me do something, I knocked it out like in a matter of minutes. You know how, like, I don't know how it is over there, but when my experience in the military, when you're given a task, you milk it. You take your time. You do you hang out, you talk, you bullshit, and you're like, oh, whatever, I can finish this, blah, blah, blah. That's how everyone acted in my unit. But, like, my work ethic is what got me fired from working for K&N Engineering.
Oh, yeah.
The air filter company.
You worked your entire workload out, and so they didn't want to hire?
They just let me go. Because that's my work ethic. You give me a task, I'm gonna get it done as fast as possible because I do not want to do this forever. That's just my mentality. Like, a job is meant to be done.
That it reflects negative on you in some way. Like, I'm sure they didn't think that you were a piece of shit for doing it, but it's like, why would I hire this guy if he doesn't have a job to do anymore?
And that's, ethically, they should have just brought me on part-time.
Yeah.
After that, they're like, all right, there's no more work. We can't afford to keep you on full-time, but we want to keep you. You're a great worker. We're going to put you on full-time and give you like $2 extra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm running, that's the ethical, moral way to go about, but it's just not the way it is. They fired me and they shipped the jobs overseas to China.
Build a wall.
Local Riverside corporation that has stayed Riverside only shipped the jobs to China. They couldn't afford to pay me $18 an hour. I was definitely, if they paid me $20 an hour part-time, dude, they would have made so much money on apparel. But no one thinks like that. What was we talking about before we got to that? God damn it. You're not high too, are you?
No, I'm not high. Like what we were talking about before we got on your army stuff? Or both of our military hair rigs that we were talking about?
Oh, you're talking about you were talking about cutting hair and how people behaved when you were on ship rather than when you were on land. How did we get there? We were talking about hair.
No, we went off on a tangent because a man takes his hat off. It's insane.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I tip my hat to you, sir.
But yeah, that's definitely a common occurrence in the military is underutilizing your assets and overextending your reach at the same time. I toot my horn, I guess, in some way, shape, or form. But at my last station, I was probably arguably. I say arguably because there's probably people who don't believe this, but hands down, without a doubt, the best that there is at that specific job when I left, and I had been overutilized. If so, it's on the opposite. I had been overworked.
And that's the problem when you're the guy that the military knows gets jobs done. Is they always go to you.
You know what's funny is I learned a valuable lesson that even though I'm the only one that can do the job, I'm still as important to them as the guy who's incapable of doing his job. So that's kind of what happened when I got in trouble, right? Like I made a mistake and I owned up to it, and I got in a lot of trouble for it. And we don't need to go into what it was, but I was so important to that command. Like, well, they had me convinced that I was, right? That I did 9 deployments in 6 years. I neglected a lot of things, but a lot of things on the back burner because I thought what I was doing was so important and that they needed me. And I made one mistake that wasn't really a huge deal, and it's like I never existed.
That's a lesson I learned from the military. It's this. You can get 1,000 attaboys. One fuck up will ruin your career.
One guy told me, he's like, you can build bridges your entire life, and no one will ever call you a bridge builder. But you suck one cocksucker, no one's going to stop calling. Oh, well, you suck one cock, you'll never stop being called a cocksucker.
You will always be a cocksucker.
All the positives don't mean shit if you have negative. So I learned that, and now I just take care of myself.
But that's just like that. Man, that's such a terrible way to look at it, though. Like to live off of that premise, man. Like how much potential can be lost based on a mistake, and the idea that someone that is valuable becomes unvaluable when they make one mistake. It's terrible business. It's terrible ethics because you lose potential that can make something even more great.
And
see, a great boss knows mistakes happen, and when they'll recognize a mistake rather than a habit. Habits are what businesses don't like. That's what the military should look for. Habits. Does this guy habitually fuck up at the same thing over and over, or was this a one-time thing?
They absolutely do, right? Because there's tons, like, people get a lot of chances. You know, people, like, plenty of people get a second or third chance to set up a trend.
In the military, though, how many years does that take?
Here's what's fucked up, right? Before I made that mistake, I had never fucked up. So it was to the point where they were so pissed that this person, would make a mistake that it was like burning me to understand that you're not allowed to make mistakes. Almost punishing me for not being perfect, which isn't a normal thing. And like I'm saying, like, all right, so for at least in the Navy, if I mess up, right, if I make a mistake, if it's not like a DUI or something that causes, you know, something, it's not a big deal. What'll happen is they'll counsel me, you know, and I'll get in a little bit of trouble, but it kind of stops there. And in order for me to get in a lot of trouble, I have to do the same thing 3 times.
So do you think that one individual incident is going to fuck up your career?
Yeah, it did mess up my career because
it prevented you from going further in what you wanted to do because you didn't take that chance early on.
Here's the big thing. I made. Oh, in retrospect, I made E6 in 5 years, and that's when I made it, and I got in trouble, and I didn't get it. So,
so you didn't get your
it's been
6
4.5 years since. You know what I'm saying?
You have to, and you fucking missed that test recently.
That's fine because I still like the Navy. The way the Navy works is like ever since I got in trouble. You get like a performance mark, same thing as the Army, but that score is included in our test score. So I've been crushing the test, but I still have that messing up.
Because I know the more schooling and shit you do, the more proactive you are in your career, the more of that negative shit goes away. The more they stop focusing on that, because now you're see, this is what I tell people. It's not about what you say or think, it's about what you do. And this is what I learned from the military is perception is everything. So like I said before, 1,000 attaboys, you're known as the guy that's gonna get shit done. But once you fuck up, you're going to be perceived as the guy that's a fuck up. So you need to immediately get on the track of being seen as the guy that's fucking killing it. Like, man, that guy, like getting sick PT scores, getting sick school scores, knocking shit out, being super proactive. I guess what the military does for us is it allows zero chance or excuse for weakness, because we know people are inherently lazy.
Well, the people in our day and age, absolutely.
Yes, and they don't know what the meaning of real hard work is, and understanding that when you fuck up, you do need to better it. You, in society's eyes, it's like, only God can judge me premise. No, because we're judging you, whether you like it or not. You're getting judged.
Only God should,
and that can affect.
God should judge you.
Yes, but that's not the way the world works. You get judged constantly, and you need to understand that.
They throw the term out there, only God can judge me. Like, that's talking about God judging you to get into heaven, seeing if you're a rapist or a murderer. Like, you being a whore at the club, like, everyone else has the right to judge you. Like, yeah, she's a whore at the club. Yeah, that's what it is.
Anything you do in public in America is open for public criticism. That's why you're allowed to film in public. That's why you're allowed to protest in public.
Unless you're not a liberal. Like, anything you say that's against the liberal agenda is not free speech.
That's just a belief.
Which is absolutely covered by the First Amendment, but
that's just a belief. That's just a belief. It's the same thing with Islam. Anybody that isn't Islam is an infidel and deserves to die.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? That's the extremist
the extremist part of Islam. You know, you got the peaceful part of Islam, which is great, and I support that. I would allow the peaceful, moderate Muslims in America. That's not a problem with me because they've lived here for a very long time. They contributed greatly, and they have not tried to do a holy jihad and take over our government.
The only issue with that is
we can't decipher between
it's
them.
not even that. It's like it doesn't matter if there's a billion Muslims, right? And I'm all about the freedom to practice religion in any way, shape, or form. Even I'm so pro constitutional rights.
Dude, if you grew a beard, you would totally pass for Muslim if you took those glasses off.
I bet.
And you wore you would totally pass. I'm looking at your face right now. You totally have a Jewish look to you.
Why
Someone from the Middle East.
But I pass as a Muslim?
Well, a lot of Jews do look Muslim.
I guess,
a lot of Muslims do look
have
Jewish.
always been getting along. They've probably been intermingling and making me.
They're real cool and everything.
But what I'm saying is, I'm so pro constitutional rights that I'm even for the radical Islamics to practice whatever the fuck, or at least have the faith in the way they have. But I'm also the guy that's like, if you fuck up, I'm going to get you, or someone should.
See that? Jesus, look at this bug. I don't know if you can see it. It's going to fly over here soon, I promise.
Is that the one from earlier that you thought you caught?
It's the fly crane flies. Crane flies. Look at it. It's chilling right now on the Buddha. I'm going to grab it by the leg.
No, but
see it?
And then in the grand scheme of things, I can't see. I don't have video to you, bro.
All right, you'll see it later. Bye.
That's so fucking funny.
Fucking. It's got webs stuck to its feet, so it looks like it's carrying something.
What we were talking about.
Sorry.
When you were saying that there's plenty of this and plenty of that, and you're all for it, and I am all for the good and the bad in America as long as they're citizens. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, in a religion of over 1 billion people. I mean, it only took 7 people to take down the towers. So the fact that there's an extreme minority at this point in the discussion we're having is ultimately irrelevant.
And let's add to that, the fuel to this fire is the political movement, the political justice movement,
Social justice
the social justice. Sorry, I'm high. Social justice warrior movement that's going on right now is laying the bedrock for the shit to happen.
You know, it's
because
insane.
if we weren't politically correct and we were legitimately worried and afraid of other ideas, like. Now, this is going to sound irrational, like, let's say, other hate groups that want to prevent other cultures from moving into their societies because it changes their culture.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? And we like our culture. Our habit is our culture. And our culture is being changed because... Sorry, go ahead.
Fine. But there's a discussion that Jorge Ramos has with a white man who seems like he might be racist. I don't know enough about the guy. I think that's an incredible insult to call someone racist without any, backing. But what they were talking about is, he's like, the white guy was like, I live in a community that's 100% European. It's like, I don't hate Hispanics. I don't hate other cultures. It's like, I just want my community to stay 100% European. It's like, and why?
Because the culture.
Because none of us argue. Our neighborhood looks great, and there's no crime where I live. Like, that's why I want it. And then
it's because everybody's on the same
Jorge
fucking
Ramos,
playing field. Everybody understands what they
Ramos
want.
Is like, kind of caters to the fact that seems racist. And then the dude pulls out the stats. His whole job is these stats that he was bringing up, so it was kind of ridiculous. But he was like, the way things are going in 2000, let's just say it was 2020. There's going to be more Hispanics where I live than Europeans. And then Jorge Ramos is like, well, what's wrong with that? And then his response is like, what's wrong with me wanting it to be more Europeans than Hispanics? He's like, I'm not saying kill the Hispanics. He's like, I'm saying that I want the place I live to be more European than Hispanic. He's like, and you're arguing saying I'm racist when you want the exact same thing for your people.
I think what it is, it's just the choice of words.
Well, Bill Burr pulls.
I think it's because you can have Spanish Europeans.
Yeah,
But when you come from he's probably talking about European descent, white,
when you're saying
Caucasian.
Hispanic,
But even
that's
Spanish
like, no
is
one's
considered
saying Hispanic the right way.
Spanish is
But you
considered
didn't say
Caucasian.
Hispanics.
But he should pick his words better. He could say, I like the culture of my neighborhood.
Oh no!
And I don't want other people. I don't want the culture of.
Right, I was just giving you the gist because I don't have the notes and I didn't quote it. He sold it in a very educated, non-racist way about the fact that he wants it more European because it will be more Hispanic in the next few years. And George Ramos said it was racist, but George Ramos's retaliation was, "What's wrong with it being more Mexican than European in the next?" And the guy's like, "There's nothing wrong with it because there's nothing wrong with me wanting it to stay the same exact way." The guy, he might be a racist for all I know. I don't know the guy personally, but his stance on it wasn't racist. It was logical. We know what's going on here, the way it is. We know that there's no crime in our area. We know this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. And we know that in, let's say, 20 years from now, there's going to be less of the people that don't commit crime and more of the people that statistically do. And that's all he was getting at. He's like, if we leave it the same way, it'll stay the same. Nothing will change. And that's what he wants. He's like, I'm not afraid of change. He's like, I just know where I live. I don't have to worry about locking my door.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
That immigrants are criminals or that they have to worry about it. It's just when you look at stats.
But see, the thing that sucks is two white guys are having this conversation.
White guys are having a conversation? Yeah, so it's a relevant conversation that we're only nationally scum and we're supremacists.
Yeah, because this conversation people. Only works if you're having it with someone of a different culture.
With someone with a different culture, the instant backlash is that dude's an Uncle Tom.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter what the backlash is. Intelligent people don't worry about name calling.
Here's the thing: like, people consider people intelligent because they're educated. So that's just the loss in where we are in this day and age. Yes, America has science degrees that are great and medical degrees that are great and certain degrees that are great, but what America lacks is humanity degrees that are great. So no one even knows how people work anymore because humanity is a joke. No one's taking social sciences. No one's taking humanities. No one's getting a degree in anthropology. No one's doing that. So Americans are failing. They're turning into robots because
they're only going towards jobs where there's the most money.
STEM careers, and it makes sense. You need the money, but as a society, we're saying all you guys need to be engineers. So what are engineers? They're fucking autistic robots. Okay, so these...
I'm a great engineer. Okay, I guess I'm probably on a spectrum a little autistic.
And I'm not even really calling these people
autistic. I've thought about it before. I have some tales of being autistic. It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Everything in life is a spectrum. It is a spectrum. Everything's a spectrum.
With no medical experience at all, or my kids don't have it, and I might have it, but the spectrum is so wide in autism. A dude that just kind of can't talk to a girl sometimes is considered high functioning autistic.
Yes.
It could just be that a majority of it is every human being is different. And autism.
Yeah, that's why it's a spectrum.
And autism you got to look when you live in for our entire, life.
Yes,
they just
all the great people that we read about in historical texts were all autistic. All those motherfuckers could not operate in their society at a normal functioning rate. That's why they were famous.
They label them autistic, so they're like, okay, they only.
Mentally disabled?
No, they're not. They're giving them retardation fucking traits. But what I'm saying is they label them autistic, right? Because they don't want people to think that they got where they're at by going against the grain. Like, they don't want people thinking that
Holy shit, that's such a good point, dude.
Thinking that this guy, made his $1 billion because he said
just by focusing on something that he really respected.
Society and fuck the status quo and did what he wanted to do, and he broke out and became a billionaire. Let's say he created some sort of app and made a bunch of money. Instead, what they'll do is like, this guy was high functioning autistic. Not that he was a fucking more or less a patriot. Not that he was a
normal genius.
That he was an autistic person. So every action he made,
it's the globalist.
Every action that he made that made him $1 million was because he's autistic, not because he's a free thinker. So now, subconsciously, people are thinking like, man, that guy, that's cool that an autistic dude got so far. It's like, but I don't have that. that thing that makes me want to. So now it's like,
Yeah. I have that in my head.
People down because
Like,
they think that these geniuses
it does.
are autistic. They're not. They're geniuses. They're
It does.
different.
And it's not even
saying
okay.
that it's not
Let's
okay
take
to
it
be
out of
different because we're labeling it with some medical retardation. Like autism is a real thing. Okay, because they label it a real thing. And I have a nephew that's autistic. And I don't know.
Me too. We just said the same thing. I just said I have a nephew that's autistic. You're like, I have a nephew that's autistic. We're twinsing right now.
No, but I don't know him well enough to speak on his behalf, right? But he just graduated high school. He's doing okay, and he's just a little different. He's not stupid, right? He's not incapable of doing normal adult things. He might need help for the rest of his life because he lacks certain social cues and he can be taken advantage of. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, when you say that my nephew, who is autistic and it's noticeable and he does have issues, and you're saying that him and this billionaire software designer are the same thing, now what you're doing is saying that this software...
Totally crushing him.
You're crushing my nephew. Because why isn't he making $1 billion?
Yeah, because it's like, well, I'm not doing
so
nothing.
You're crushing my nephew, who probably doesn't understand what I'm talking about, but he's not making $1 billion. So it's like, why didn't I get the good autism, right? And then you're crushing the billionaire who's actually just a trailblazer and doesn't do what you're supposed to do. He's not a fucking inline robot. And so you're saying he has autism. Now people don't think...
I'm going to be the devil's advocate.
People don't think that he made his money by being a trailblazer. They think he made his money because he was autistic and his focus led...
He had a special power. So here's my devil's advocate.
Okay.
That's essentially the SJW.
That are doing that?
That's essentially the SJW point of view.
Yeah, when you cater to a minority, which is autism, right? If you cater to it to the point where it becomes a weakness, you make it a weakness.
It's more about... No, what I'm saying is not the minority. It's more of pandering to something and then creating emotional injustice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're catering...
But, so why maybe this guy was autistic and he grew up his whole life being autistic and he conquered it. And then he created this great thing. So should it not be noted that he was autistic and he overcame an adversity and did something great?
No, it shouldn't. It should be noticed. Look,
he should be just an individual. Same thing with women. So if women did something great in comparison to a man, it shouldn't be like a woman scientist. It should just say a scientist has discovered this great new thing.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what?
That's a utopian world, and we don't live there.
The reality is this human being did something fantastic, and instead of focusing on this new wave thing that saves people's
pseudoscience,
they say autistic man or autistic woman.
Well. Basically, when it comes to autism, it's okay. How can I compare this? Let's say. Let's think of an engine.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Let's think of efficiency, of gas efficiency, right? Now, let's say a modern car, an intelligent car has like an insane amount of technology in it to control smog and to do all these things, but that car lacks horsepower, but it's super efficient on fuel, but it lacks power. And then let's say I literally have a 1966 Chevelle in my fucking driveway right now, right? With like a 357 in it.
It's a badass car, but it's not fuel efficient.
It's a badass car, and it's got a gang of power. But let me tell you, it controls no smog, and it doesn't know where anything is. It's just got a motor and some wheels.
Smog is a big deal.
Let's just... the efficiency of the vehicle. Okay, so the car with all the technology can efficiently use and manipulate all the chemicals being combusted in that engine to the point where the pollution, the exhaust is like very minimal. Whereas this thing has got like a shit ton of balls and it's like, fuck you, I'm busting gas and I'm letting everything out. Okay, so the smart vehicle is balanced. You know what I mean? It's balanced on social ideas, social cues, environmental ideas. The other car doesn't. It has one fucking thing to do, and it's to drive, and it's to drive fast. That's autism in normal people.
Well, it's what you dictate is autism. So when we talk about your
people shouldn't give a what you're saying is people shouldn't give a fuck, and somebody
we talk about your 77 Chanel, dude.
It's a car, right?
Your car was
okay,
a
go ahead.
Chanel
Get your point.
in 77. It wasn't a different car. It's not a relic or some dinosaur car. It's not less of a car or more of a car than the smart car. It's a different car.
Exactly. It's a car that accomplishes a different goal.
Different way. Just like people.
And that's what people don't understand about people.
That's why humanities is a
we every single one of us are different, and we're meant to fit into a space to fulfill a purpose. And when society tells us that we're all meant to be fucking factory workers, we all got to take the same test. We all got to get the same education.
Yeah, standardized.
Maybe the muscle car doesn't get to become the muscle car because a muscle car spends its whole fucking life thinking that it needs to be a smart car.
That's what I'm talking about. And then you don't even notice, maybe you don't even notice that the muscle car has been a smart car the entire time.
Yeah, it's a smart car in its own way. Now, see, if people focused on individuals being experts in individual fields...
I've just decided that calling a car a smart car is insulting to cars that aren't smart.
Dude, we can start our own SJW.
Yeah, you saying yours isn't smart? What about my Jeep Wrangler? My Jeep Wrangler's really smart.
You trying to say? What are you trying to say, bro? You trying to say that my 1967 Volkswagen Bug isn't intelligent as your fucking 2017 Yaris? God, fuck you, you communist bastard. Go back to North Korea.
Yeah. But that's what I'm talking about, man. So like when you label something as less than something else, it's instantly taking away.
Yes.
Like, all right, here's a perfect example. And we'll just use it with ethnicity, right? If you say, black actor donates this much money, it's not an actor. That's just his job. And
it's a black actor.
To be black, so you shouldn't bring that up. It's local philanthropist or local hero. Those are the that's what it should say. Hero,
or
local hero.
Local rich motherfucker decides to share some money with the poor folk. Like that would be a hell of a headline rather than a black actor. That just shows
that he's black. Right? So all you focus on is the fact that a black guy's doing it. Not that a dude's being a good human, but that a black dude is actually like giving money.
Doing something good. Doing something good as if though black folks don't do good things.
And the opposite when you don't say local white man. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you don't point out the fact that the
problem is
it's just a guy doing a good thing.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, Bryson. It's paradigm and perspective is the problem. Okay, so everyone with the voices right now have never experienced anything other than the last 20 years of America. Think about that. There's no paradigm shift. There's no perspective. There's nothing. Nobody understands that even though there is racial divide, there are biases, there are racist individuals in this world, that although all those mentally, spiritually negative things and 826 times in Florida, people act on those violences nowadays. And almost always the only people acting on those violences are police officers. But nobody's paying attention to the spiritual, mental, emotional violences that the government is doing based on the laws that they're passing, the governments that they're building. They're not seeing that is in fact the true enemy that is interfering with their cultures and their livelihoods and the American way that they see. People need to adjust their paradigm, because the paradigm is the lens in which we see the world. And if you're still seeing the world from a lens that is antiquated,
you're not going to see the world for what it is now, because the past is the past. It doesn't exist anymore. The future isn't even here. That shit don't exist. The only thing that exists is right now. So what people should pay attention to is right now. The things that are being said and done and laws being passed is right now.
I guess more or less they are. They're like, I'm pissed off right now. You hurt my feelings right now.
Yeah, but they're not looking into the facts. People need to look into the facts and stop listening to rhetoric.
Facts make you racist, dude. Everyone knows that. Look, I get
fine. So that's fine. What does that make you racist against? Dummies?
The last one didn't
Who
hear
cares?
that thing I told you. Like, the chick was like, well, your stats are wrong. And I gave her the stats, and she's like, well, stats don't prove anything. Like, in what world?
Then, you know what I do with those? I blocked Israel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. You know, I kept telling him, like, if you want to talk to me, you can come talk to me on the show. I'm not going to do this YouTube comments on nothing. And then he tried to shame me on his Facebook page by sharing my drone video that I shot. Tried to shame me by, like, this dude's flying $1,000 drone when he owns people thousands of dollars.
Who do you owe $1,000 to? Sally Mae?
Sally Mae? That's it.
What a fucking cuck.
So, you know, he's trying to, he's being a bitch. He's being a piece of shit faggot.
Why would you even bring up someone else's, like...
It's because he's a piece of shit, dude. And I don't want to confront him. I'm at a point in my life where people like that just don't exist anymore. He's irrelevant. He's very unintelligent, and he must be lost. He must need help. He needs something because he's constantly just being a troll.
Yeah.
And his and you know, other things. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? A big thing is...
If it comes to the point where a conversation can't happen, I'm done. I'm not, like, I respected him and I loved him, and I would have looked out for him forever. But he wants to attack me on social media, and he doesn't want to have a real conversation. There's something wrong with him, and I'm just done. I don't need that in my life. So once you become an inconvenience, you're gone. That's where it is right now. You know,
from San Bernardino, man. So he's just upset that you found a niche and you're becoming successful, and
he's got a talent for it. He was on my show before. He was on my show like 3 times before on the God Shame Mommy Hole podcast. He was on there.
Oh, then why didn't?
But you know, that's what I'm saying. Something's wrong. Something's not right with him. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him, but something's not right. And I would recommend, if he's listening still, to get himself checked out, because something ain't right in his mind, because something changed. Maybe he's living a life that he doesn't want to live, and he's afraid to admit that, and he wants to lash out at other people that are trying.
That's what I was saying. Like, you found a niche and you're doing something with yourself, and regardless of if he had a talent for it, he didn't do anything with it. So maybe he's just more upset with himself for being a failure.
A lot of times that's what it is, dude. And that's why I didn't retaliate. I didn't get angry. I just decided to chop it off. You know, because a lot of times because I know I was in that position before. I was angry. And I know that sometimes what those people need is to be cut off. I got cut off. I was so alone for such a long time that it forced me to look introspective to myself.
What am I doing?
To try to figure out what am I doing wrong? Yes. Why is everybody upset with me? What am I doing? It took me until I had nothing anymore to figure that out. So all I can do for him is to I'm not your friend no more until you figure out your shit. Until you're willing to have a real conversation with me and not do these trolling ass YouTube. I don't want to debate you on YouTube comments. That's stupid. I want to have a conversation so that you can understand, because you can't understand if you're reading text. You can't. And if you can, it would take a very long chapter. It would take a chapter so that you can convey yourself properly. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Hopefully he figures it out, man.
I'm off that. I hope so. I love the guys. I love David and Israel. I love both of them. I've had their back since day one.
I've known them for a long time.
And I still do. I still do, but if you're gonna act like that, then you don't deserve to be friends with anybody. It's that simple. That's the way society works. You can't act right.
Y'all need to get some
consequences
act right,
happen.
You know what I'm saying?
Get a can of that act right.
You can go to Costco and get that act right in bulk, son. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I tweeted that. Didn't I tweet that?
I don't know. I do look at all your tweets, but I don't know them.
I think I tweeted something about you should get. I think about Sadiq,
the
fucking mayor of London. I said he needs a can of act right.
The dude can't even act right, man.
What a bitch! He's such a piece of shit, dude.
You know what?
Such a piece of to tell people after a terrorist attack that. Well, that's just what happens when you live in a major city. No.
Or the other guy.
No.
Remember?
Terrorist attacks should not be normalized. Terrorist attacks should not be normalized. They should be scrutinized.
Did you see that guy's tweet, man? He was like, this terrorist attack ultimately shows diversity in London. And he's like, when you look at the victims,
yes. What a fucking retard. He should hang himself. I condone that. The world of America knows that motherfucker that said that should hang himself. He's a fucking piece of shit, and he's against humanity. He's a piece of shit, and he doesn't believe in freedom, and he doesn't believe in sovereignty, and he doesn't believe in humanity. And in our world, he does not deserve to exist. Yeah. And if he is to exist, he can exist elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess.
Not in our
reality,
world.
Though, when you say this guy doesn't believe the way we believe, so he must be excommunicated. That's a bit fascist. Well, I agree with you. I'm saying when we're talking about.
Well, when it comes to an extreme like that, when it requires death, when it tells people that bombings and crashings and terrorist attacks should be normalized because that's because Muslims are extreme. Muslims are just extreme. You should get used to it. No, it's not okay in our culture. That's why our culture became so great. It's because, you don't blow up your fucking neighbor. You don't believe what he believes. You build a fence and you don't cross it. Right? When you have a neighbor you don't like, you build a big wall. You don't talk to them. They live there, you live here. You do your thing, they do their thing. You're not telling them how they should live their life, and they're not telling you how you should live it. You just don't communicate, and that's how it should fucking be. But no, people want to dominate. People want to conquer. People want to. It's never ending, Bryson. It's never fucking ending right now. God damn it. There's no hope. No hope for humanity. This eagle's staring at me like, quit being a bitch.
Have you ever talked to someone with completely different views than you, and then you're starting to like open their eyes, and then they just completely denounce you as if everything you're saying is fucking psychotic? Have you ever done that? Like, where you completely it's not my job to convince you that you're wrong.
Well,
I'm just saying I
think one time,
or not you.
I think one time.
I'm just saying in general. Have you ever talked to someone for?
I have a house.
Hours?
Yes, I have a house. Okay, that I clean. The top end of Del Rosa, so they're very nice. I have a couple houses on the top end of Del Rosa, so beautiful, super envious. I would love to live here. And it's a mile away from me. You know what I mean? And this one house, I live in a shithole. Yeah. So this one house that I clean, the ladies are so religious, always trying to talk to me about Jesus. And then one time I engaged him. I was like, you know what? I don't believe in religion at all. I believe there's a higher power. I believe that, I live my life based on good, high moral values, that I'll be fine. And then, we started talking. It's almost turned into 2 hours of standing there talking to them, dude. And they had just crazy eyes. There was no convincing. There was no changing. I told them, I just can't. I told them I just can't believe in religion. I just can't, because the New Testament was put together by a Roman Emperor, Constantine, left out, over 120 stories so that the Bible would fit his objectives. So no, I can't believe in the Bible. But, intelligently, I just don't assume that this amazing universe that we live in started from absolutely nothing. It doesn't make sense. Somebody had to initiate it, and whether that initiation was maybe the colliding of the CERN fucking whatever what's that thing called, the Hadron Collider. Yeah. That it could be that could be the beginning of a new galaxy all the time. Who knows? Or what if a new universe is created every time a human being is born?
That'd be crazy.
If you think about the Big Bang, all an entire being was created from a sperm infiltrating an egg, and then that egg exploding and expanding and expanding and expanding and then expanding and expanding, and then multiple trillions of organisms live within inside of us that don't even belong inside of us. And then we got our cells and our mitochondria and our fucking DNA and our fucking atoms, all these shits inside of us that operate autonomously. Who's to say that we are not us? If God is us and we are Him, what if we are us and we are Him?
That's not a crazy concept, man.
That's the point is that we don't know. So why do we assume that we know?
Here's the beauty of it, right? If I could explain to you why I have faith in God, or if I could explain to you in definitive proof why I have faith in God, if my primitive mind or if my human mind could convey God, that, then He wouldn't be worth believing in the first place, the way I believe in Him.
I don't agree.
That's agree. Me, right? So
I don't agree at all. For me,
in God.
My shoelaces untied.
I guess I can lay it out. So we live in the third dimension, right?
We live in.
Well,
I guess is that what they call it? The third, or is it we live in a 3D dimension, a dimension with only three dimensions? Does that make it the third?
Well,
I guess you're right. Okay, go ahead, carry on.
The way it works is the first dimension is one dimension, right? So like length, and then the second dimension is length and width, and then the third dimension is length, width, and depth, and that's us. That's where we reside. So
you forgot about height. It's length, width, height, and depth. It's 4 dimensions.
All right. So we'll go back into what I said. So the third dimension is we can
length, width, height, and depth.
Yeah. Well, that's just talking about a cube, but it's anything with 3 dimensions. So whatever. That's
those 3 dimensions. Those are the 3 dimensions: length, width, height. Length, width, and height. Depth is a fourth dimension. Depth perception. See, we have a depth perception.
Depth itself is the third dimension. So we can put it this way, right? You have a white piece of paper, right?
So depth is the cumulative of the 3.
All right. So
okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Go ahead. Well, that makes sense. Carry on.
Better way to explain it is on a playing card, how you have the face cards. It would be impossible for them to have organs because
because they're only one dimension.
They're 2-dimensional. Their esophagus would cut their body in half because they don't have a third dimension, which is the depth to hold the esophagus. If you get my drift. All right, so
the depth is the.
So in the third dimension, you can perceive the second dimension easily and the first dimension easily. You can perceive it because you live in a realm higher. And what I like to.
What is fourth?
Okay,
hold on.
The fourth dimension is just time. Yeah, so the fourth dimension is time, not time as it is relative as man created it. The fourth dimension is...
Relativity is so deep.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But the fourth dimension is essentially everything that's ever happened, everything that will happen, and everything that's happening right now at the exact same time always. So I like to always think about this. So... We can't comprehend the fourth dimension, but we know it's a very real thing. So I like to think that maybe God is the fourth dimension.
Do you think that might be enlightenment?
The fourth dimension is absolutely enlightenment. Every spiritual science, profession, everything like that, straight up says The path of enlightenment will lead you to the fourth dimension. Now, a lot of spirit science will point out the fact that if you ever have an extremely lucid dream, they're actually just astral projecting to the fourth dimension, where things are more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Like, you'd kill yourself a million times just to live in this place, and that's a lot of spiritual scientists.
Is that what Islam is doing?
That is not it. But
what if that's what they're doing?
If maybe they're just enlightened and massacring people is the way of the future.
And maybe look, I've had this theory before. I've said this theory before. What if bad is good and good is bad?
No.
What if in the realm that we live in?
What if
the realm that we live in What if the realm that we live in, our God is a conqueror, and he requires fucking like soldiers to come to heaven. Only soldiers and like strict abiders of his law. Right? Kind of sounds like God, right? And what if, like, as you know, throughout time, historically, God has been softened. Look at the original the original God fucking Bible. God was ruthless. He was ruthless.
People only see the Old Testament as the fact that this guy, this or woman or whatever God would be, this entity, was just a ruthless killing machine that smite. But ultimately,
well, it was more of not that. It was more of whoever didn't follow my rules.
Had nothing. All right, so
well, never mind. I'm sorry. You're right. The rules weren't invented yet.
That was the problem. Okay, so after the initial abomination that forced us out of Eden, right?
Yes.
There was no other direct connection to God. They couldn't communicate with God any longer. Blah 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 blah. They went forth and multiplied. They populated the earth. Okay, so however long it was,
and then include in this that human nature took over.
It was given.
Because we had no guidance.
We had no guidance. So we were created with human nature, and that's why Lucifer fought God. He loved us so much, he wanted us to be perfect angels. God said, no, give them the power of choice and give them human nature. So that was the fight, and that's why it sent Lucifer to hell. But what I'm saying is,
yes, because he wanted us to see the world from the way he's seen it as well, because it's unfair for us to see it from a one-sided perspective, because that's not fair. I said this so many times before. Yeah. Thank you for fucking solidifying that idea.
The concept is that the devil loves God so much that he's spending his entire...
He saw his flaw.
He's trying to prove to him that we should be perfect. So that's what he's like, no, human beings are inherently good, which we are. We're just driven by war and hunting. So it's kind of like a weird contradiction. But
fight and flight. Yeah. So we do whatever it takes to survive selfishly, and and if we were to follow human nature, that's exactly what we would do. If we follow a more enlightened route, we would see past
like
that.
Saying, human beings are inherently good, right? But you need a moral justification to not become inherently bad. So like when we talk about soldiers, right? Like if I'm killing a bunch of people, everyone in the world knows that killing someone else is wrong. But if there's a moral justification to it, like if I'm murdering someone that's in my house to protect my family, I'm not going to be considered a bad person, even in my own eyes.
Because you did you did the unthinkable for
the right cause.
A greater cause.
The right cause.
A greater cause,
Human beings at their core are inherently good. Okay? But things get warped by ideological nonsense. But what I'm saying is, so they populated the earth, right? And the earth became a shithole because there was no rules. And there was no consequence for violating rules because there was no rules. So ultimately God sent down the commandments, right? And the commandments weren't these rules saying if you break these you'll never get into heaven, these are this, these are that. The rules in the 10 commandments were only created to understand and educate, or to help people understand by educating human beings that there is rules and they're not following them, right? So you're not ultimately chastised and you're never going to get into heaven because you murder someone. Even as heinous as that is, you're not going to go to hell just for doing it, right? So they lay out these rules saying you can't do this. Right, so there is rules now, and every time you do it, you're breaking the rule. And it was to educate us that we're not perfect and we're not the end all be all. So now every time you break a rule, if you honestly repent, because all you did was, break a rule. It's like talking in class when you're not supposed to talk in class. If a teacher never told you you're not allowed to talk in class, you would talk in class. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly how.
There's an automatic rebellion.
So what happened is now none of these people ever followed any rules, and now they're following these rules. Now they have to follow these rules. And they're like, fuck that. So now they're maliciously breaking the rules. So what does God do? He kills a bunch of them. But he's not. Yeah, but he's not killing people. He's not a murderer. What he's doing is, we talk about that moral justification. God doesn't need it, right? But I guess for us peons to understand it, let's say he killed 100 people that were maliciously breaking these rules. 1 million people aren't going to break those rules. And the best thing about it is, like, I guess the icing on that cake, because it seems bad, is it's not like those rules are morally corrupt rules. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you're punishing these people for being adulterers and killing people and stealing and lying and, and it's not talking lying like you lied to your mom, like, oh, did you drink at that party? No, that's not the lying they're talking about. They're talking malicious lying, that, deceit in its entirety.
Manipulating lying and hurtful lying.
These rules maliciously and on purpose now, they get dealt with, right? So ultimately, it teaches everyone else that there's a very real repercussion to breaking these rules over and over again. Do you want to break them? And some people will say it's messed up, but reality is now all those people are just going to stop killing, lying, stealing, adultering, and coveting, which is good. So it's turning these people into the idea that's like, all right, these rules need to be followed, and now that we know that we have to follow them, everything's going to be better while we're following them, because they make you inherently good people. And that's where the loss in communication comes from, because God didn't just come down and smite. God,
like
God
a dick.
Like, all right, you guys had your time and you're fucking it all up. Let me fix this, or let me give you the tools to fix this. And that's where it happened. So Old Testament God was all love, 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 love. But you got to think, there was a lot of the Old Testament where God wasn't involved for a long time. So,
a very long time. He just
he had to communicate.
I think God was a scientist.
Moses and Abraham. You know what I'm saying? So he had to communicate through these people, and it takes a long time without the internet to get a message across. Not everyone lived in Jerusalem. Not everyone lived in the same spot. There was people in Southeast Asia. We were talking about Jesus going to see Buddha. People lived in Japan. Like, the tribes people were all over the world.
Have you heard of Japan's earliest, like, the original emperor, the very first, where he came from?
No. Was it part of the 12 pillars of Islam?
The stories tell that he fell from the first empress came from a star that crashed into the ocean and came walking ashore carrying a box of her king's head, and the head was elongated like those African skulls. There's no doubt in my fucking mind that we are not originated from here.
Yeah, and I think
And now recent NASA findings that there are 7 planets that are inhabitable in our galaxy. Now, new recent info.
Yeah.
7 planets, bro, in our galaxy. Right here in our neighborhood.
So crazy.
We don't know shit, and we ain't never gonna know shit. I promise you, there's gonna be always some new shit fucking people's worlds up. Because for the longest, this shit was flat. Everything revolved around us, and then there was no possible, like, we live in a Goldilocks zone. The possibility of other planets with what we got is very unlikely. Yeah, no, we ain't that special, bitch.
Incredibly unlikely, though. But it always leads me to the funny part about it, right? Is
it's only unlikely to our perspective.
Yeah,
the universe is vast, and there's God damn it, that thing is coming at me.
Bug or something?
Yeah, it's those crane. It's still got the web stuck to his feet.
Look, when you say that the universe is vast and there's a possibility, blah 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 blah, all you do, like, you can't. Here's my biggest thing about it, right? Is I'm big on science, right? But I am a devout Christian, and I am, in my own mindset, I am highly religious. I believe in God. I have blind faith. But my blind faith is not just in science. It's not just in God. It's in science as well. Like, I know that I shouldn't stop looking into something because someone told me that it's impossible. So you can't really hate on someone else who believes in something that hasn't been proven. The only difference is Christians aren't trying to prove God exists, because if they could prove it, he wasn't really worth having faith in.
Why?
Well, that's it. Like, you should spend your time proving everything else, right? And no one could ever prove.
Worrying about the ideology rather than the individual.
Right. So if I spent my entire life trying to prove that God was right, and I succeed, okay, how could I, a human being, what would give me the ability to comprehend the information I would need to prove that, right? And that's what I'm saying. And if someone had definitive proof that God existed, it's almost like no one should have worshipped him in the first place. Because we should never be able to prove it. Because blind faith is dangerous in a lot of things, but having faith in God with lack of proof is the only reason that it works. Now, if I need proof of God's existence to follow him, then I'm not religious and I don't believe in him in the first place. So if someone spends their whole life to prove that he exists, it's because they never really believed in him. Because you don't need to look for it. Because if you believe that God exists, you already have proof.
I guess I can argue that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
What if somebody absolutely believes something? Like, let's say a foster child absolutely believes that one day they're going to meet their parents. Does that disqualify their idea of their fraternity parents? No.
Dead?
What?
It's all in retrospect. Now, when you ask me that question about foster parents, right? And you're like, what if a foster child thinks one day? If you think,
like, I want to meet my dad now. I've never met him before ever in my life, and I have no expectations. My thing is I just want to know.
All right. So there's
people like me that just want to know. Like, if I.
Right.
So your argument is contrarian in the fact that if me personally were to find out that God was real, my faith would triple, quadruple, and there would be no doubt in my mind, and I would absolutely live. Why not?
Proof. It's not that crazy concept.
But that's so scamish. That's so pyramid scheming. That's so gross.
I'm not talking about the church here. I'm not talking about the church and the money.
The idea of faith. It's the idea of faith. That's why I don't have faith. That's why I'm not a believer, because I'm not that type of person.
That if they prove that God was real, you would believe.
I would no. It's not that I would believe; is that I would practice the beliefs a lot more. I would execute the idea of not having sex before marriage and being married. Those anti-pleasure driven beliefs. I would more mitigate that on the idea, like, so if God is real and he really did say this shit, but in my mind, I'm going off of, like, a dude wrote this and he's trying to control the population and the masses so that a scarce population can grow to a massive population of what it is now of almost 8 billion people.
I don't see
like
that, though.
It's perspective on global
no premarital sex. I don't see population control. I see survivability. When you look at stats of, like, the single parent household versus the 2-parent household, those kids are like 70% more likely to commit violent crimes and be career criminals than a person with 2 parents.
And that's
all I see.
That's now. That's
no.
now.
That's always been.
Look.
That's always been. I don't have stats.
I'm not married to my daughter's mom.
No, but you exist in your daughter's life.
Exactly. So the idea of marriage doesn't need to exist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Every person's. I'm not saying
okay,
you're
so
wrong.
that's
that.
But I'm saying it's possible, and to be successful, you don't necessarily need these merits. The idea of these merits is the idea that people are too unintelligent and too unintelligent on multiple levels, not just the brain, but spiritually, emotionally. See, I've only gained this type of perspective through growth, through spiritual growth, through emotional growth, through knowledge. I've only gotten here because of that. So that only strengthens my argument that religion is a construct to maintain a society's integrity because of human nature's inherent ability to be lazy. Essentially,
I definitely
just
agree with
laziness.
you, man. And if we just go back, like the idea, like I just want to like say one more thing on the premarital sex thing. Like I know it seems like I'm
I like premarital
right?
sex.
I mean, I had sex before
like
I was
premarital.
married.
I would,
okay, and I'm not.
Of course, you did.
What I'm saying is, when you paint the world in a broad brush, think about how many things would be avoided if people didn't have sex before marriage.
Absolutely.
It's not. I'm not talking about.
You're absolutely correct. No, you're right.
I'm not talking about population control. I'm not talking about.
Just
being
moral
married.
decisions.
I'm not even talking about like people being married and premarital sex is a bad thing. I'm talking about we can just use America today, right? If we have 1 million abortions a year, how many of those abortions do you think would have been prevented if people weren't having premarital sex? I'm not anti-premarital sex, okay? I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're against the killing of a life.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm using that as an argument because it's not the extreme, right? It's not saying, well, what if they got raped by their dad? Right. Well, that's fucking premarital sex. You know, his dad and the daughter didn't get married.
But it's not right or
is,
it's fair.
If people waited till they were married to have sex, you know, they'd be more successful as human beings.
That'd be very true. That's
they wouldn't
very
have
true.
accidental babies, which ruins some people's lives and keeps them in San Bernardino.
It really does.
Or other shit.
Shut up.
No, I'm not talking about you. You're doing all right.
Shut up, Bryson. Quit talking about me.
Turn around so I can say behind your back. No, I'm saying like if I would have got a girl pregnant in high school, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. You know, but I didn't wait to get married to have sex. All right, I didn't do that. I'm just saying I got lucky.
Who the fuck does? Who does?
No, I'm saying, but if everyone did, you got to think like the abortion rates would drop probably almost 100%. Because and then you think about
aside from you like weird.
Yeah, we're not talking. We don't use those extreme things that's like less than a 10th of a percent.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's say in general. In general,
when you think about it, like, all right, so a lot of abortions are like people who are having premarital sex and they accidentally get pregnant. Okay. And I'm sure there's plenty of abortions where people are married and they get pregnant and they don't want to have the baby. I'm sure there's plenty, okay? But that's fucked up too. Now, sex, yes, it feels great, and the spiritual and emotional connection you have with your partner at times is fantastic, right? But we're not talking about that sex. Like the sexual relationship you have with someone you love is fantastic. Okay, we're talking about one night stands, shitty stuff that people can avoid. Okay, and I'm not a sexual prude. I'm just saying the facts here. Think about how many teenage pregnancy would not exist if no one had sex until they were married. Like what sex
and let's get to that really topic real quick,
right? But I've never thought about sex like, man, having sex is so much better than having this job that pays for my food, because it's not. And having sex is so much better.
I've had that thought before. I quit a job. I quit working at Ludicrous Customs because I was depressed about being broken up.
And there it is. And I've never. Broken up isn't sex.
But that's what created those emotions.
Just the sex?
Because I was like probably fucking 17, 18.
Yeah.
Please. I wasn't even emotionally developed to fucking do anything. But sex was great, and I was losing that sex.
Thought that the sex
that greatness.
To love.
Yes. And see that, but it comes down to not preaching things, but teaching things. Now, if we taught people rather than telling them, "Oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that," why don't we tell stories?
Talk to someone instead of talking at someone.
Yes, talk to them, explain to them, break it down emotionally, mentally, and spiritually on every single level, because humans are onions. We're all onions, and if you can't explain something,
we have the layers.
Yeah, if you can't explain something to somebody in a way that they can better understand it, then you're failing at whatever you're doing. If you're a teacher or a parent, if you can't express what you're trying to convey to the person you're trying to convey it to, then you need to find a better way to convey it to that individual, because that's the problem, because everybody's different. Everybody absorbs information differently. We're all on a fucking spectrum.
Spectrum of autism, man.
So that's why I say this Common Core bullshit is bullshit.
Charter schools
Terrible.
are the future. I'm not even fucking. Like when we talk about, because you signed that Common Core, dude. Charter schools are so much better than public school, and they increased decreased the crime exponentially in New York City alone. And yes, they cost money. But there is a reason for that, you know? So let's say this, right? And this kind of makes a little bit of sense, but it wouldn't work to our experience because there's not a lot of homeowners in San Bernardino. But let's say this, right? Your property tax in San Bernardino pays for your public school system. That's how it works. Okay? Now, let's say, but those teachers are required to teach a certain curriculum. And those teachers aren't required to do a good job because they won't get fired. Okay. So ultimately you have a bunch of teachers in a bad area that aren't teaching well because the kids don't even know how to read when we get into high school. And it's just systemic. Right? Now you introduce the charter schools. Okay. And the charter schools, the teachers can absolutely get fired. Okay. If they don't do a good job. All right. Kids get in trouble and kids get kicked out. But not until after they've been helped, you know, like in a charter school, if your parents or whoever's paying for it, it's sometimes the state, you know, the state pays for charter schools too. If your kid's there and he's kind of disruptive or something like that, you know, there's an incentive for them to fix the kid because they're getting more money. So it's like a capitalistic way of looking at, you know, increasing the future, because if you kick this kid out, you're losing his funding, right? That's simple.
Yeah.
And
so you need to improve him.
If you keep him there, you're going to get him through all of his grades. And one, the school's going to get a bunch of money for him. And two, the economy gets a capable and willing to contribute adult. And these charter schools are great because the teachers, if they don't produce these adults, they get fired.
That's important.
Right.
And I think that's important for Congress as well.
And that's what's going on right now, because public schools are, like we talked about it the last time I was on, the public school system is fucked up because English isn't the only language that's required in a class, and they have to dumb down a lot of their lesson plans to cater to unassimilated or immigrants or refugees. And I'm not bashing them for being here or anything like that. I'm saying
but it shouldn't hinder us. It shouldn't hinder everyone around them.
Because these are the immigrants. I mean, they're not paying property tax in the first place that funds the public school, right? So
yeah, some of them are. I mean, some of them are pretty balling. Not all of them are poor, but the majority of them are.
Poor and paying property tax aren't the same thing, right? So what I'm saying is, you can be wealthy in an area and an immigrant. Of course, you could be an educated immigrant. Immigrants aren't stupid. What I'm saying is that doesn't mean you're paying property tax, right?
Yeah, that pays for that education.
Yeah, the homeowner pays property tax. So if you're renting, you're not paying property tax. And if you're an undocumented citizen in the same city, you're not paying any taxes. So now,
So how does that argument go with the Betsy DeVos's idea of the vouchers of transferring? Does the voucher transfer the funds? Is that what the voucher is?
So the way the voucher, all right, so obviously there's a pool of money at a federal level that funds, public schools. And that's what makes there be a Common Core or a curriculum that everyone has to follow, is the fact that the federal government pays, right? But the state should be paying. There's no reason that California should have the worst schools in the country.
It's crazy, right? And we're like the 6th richest place in the world.
We have like the 3rd
6th
worst schooling system in America.
It's insane, dude. It's kind of like how Washington, D.C. is a shitty place, and yet that's the capital of the U.S.
And that's what's fucked up about it. Is like where's the money coming from? And when they created that federal shit where the government was, like the federal government was paying for schools, the state stopped giving a fuck about the schools.
It's all about money, man. It's all about capitalism.
No, it is. It is about capitalism. You're right. Capitalism is a fantastic thing.
And I feel capitalism in its entirety is not the greatest idea because it allows humans' most gross inherent natures take control.
Yes, right? If unchecked. You get what I'm saying? So the fundamental flaw of our shit is capitalism is super important to our economy, right? But capitalism and politics aren't supposed to correlate. You're supposed to have politicians who keep capitalists in check, right? Not adding stupid sanctions, not fucking up our economy. I'm talking like, all right, look, it's cool if you drill for oil here, all right, but you got to do it this way. That's what the politics should be doing.
You gotta
not like,
follow
I'll
these
let
fucking
you drill
rules.
for oil here however you want if you cut me a check, right? So there should be no capitalism in Congress or any of that in politics, and capitalists should be in a free market where non-political entities reside. And that's what the fundamental flaw is that these fucking these lobbyists and these politicians can communicate, and a politician, a senator or a congressman should not be able to own a business in this country.
You're absolutely
correct. Should not be able to own a business, should not.
And that includes Trump.
Oh yeah, that's why Trump gave all of his stuff to his kids.
Yeah, I mean,
look, he's not going to. All right,
come on. He's not going to give up his money. Everybody knows. I mean, come on. That's.
I don't think Trump is stupid enough to pass some sort of legislation that gives him more money.
Well, he has lower taxes.
No. Lower taxes.
Lower taxes on
lower taxes
because he pays his fair share.
It's been proven, but we've seen
the numbers.
Right,
that's what.
There's no reason
he flipped the script on America with that one. Nobody's
no reason that someone who makes more money should have to pay more taxes. There's no reason for that. I don't believe that someone should be penalized for being more successful by paying more money to the government.
Well, I disagree.
I believe.
I don't think it's penalized. I think if it's a percentage, if it's a percentage,
that's what the tax break is, right? What I'm talking about this tax break is because, like, all right, so do you know what the tax is on someone, a normal person that doesn't own a business? Let's say, like, I just have a job, right? Like, I work for a company and I make about $1 million a year. My taxes are 48%. Your taxes are about 13. You see, that's what I'm talking about, the difference. I shouldn't be penalized because it's not everyone's talking about like these tax breaks, these billionaires don't give a fuck about taxes. They've already worked it out. The tax breaks are saving because the way the percentages work in America. All right, I'll put it this way. Top 5% in America only make $150,000 a year.
That's like,
you get what I'm saying? So when you talk about the top 1%ers, it's only like $220,000 a year. Or not 1%, but the 1%ers are the billionaires, right? We can't count them. But the top 2%.
You're talking about like the 10%ers and the 5%ers. Well,
just in general, like the top 5% of America make $150,000 or more. And that's even with a dual income family. That's not top.
That's supposed to be middle class wages too. You know that? That's supposed to be like top middle class.
It is.
$150,000,
right? Because when you think about it, like, I'm not going to talk about how much money I make, right? But the money I make, if my wife made exactly as much money as I do, right?
You'd
we'd
be up there.
a lot closer to that 5%, like pretty close. Okay. And so I make enough to provide for my family, and we're comfortable, right? But I get taxed at whatever rate. But if I, was educated more than I am,
and you started making more
I
money,
shouldn't be penalized, for making more money. So, like, perfect example. I have two friends of mine that are in the military, and they both get the same paycheck, right? And they're almost in that 5% tax bracket. I think they're in like the top 7% of America. They get taxed more than I do, and we have the same exact job, and we get paid the same amount.
Are they single?
No, they're married to each other. Yeah.
Oh, they're married to each other.
If someone was in the Navy and was in a higher tax bracket than me, why would anybody ever get out? No, it's just they're both in the Navy, and they're married. So, like, when you file your taxes together, it looks like they make a lot of money. Individually, they make as much as me. So I'm saying, or a little bit more because they're higher rank. But they're in that tax bracket, that top 5%, and they get taxed significantly more than I do. We have the same job, and they probably, I don't know, a month, they probably make $400 more a month than me. That's insane that they're...
That's not a lot.
It's a car payment.
That's not a lot at all.
Like, if you wanted a nicer car, that's your car payment. But so these tax breaks, and I'm not saying that rich people shouldn't pay taxes. I'm saying, at what point does it become unfair? Because when business owners, like the billionaires, they're not paying billionaire taxes because they have subsidiaries, they have companies, they run everything the right way. They have a million Jewish accountants that knock their shit out. They're not paying taxes at the bracket they're in, okay? But the normal person, like my two friends that are in the 5% tax bracket of America, those people don't even have an accountant. They file their taxes at H&R Block. You know what I'm saying? So they're paying way more in taxes because they make more money. And it seems like they're being penalized for being more successful. Now,
that's a bit
without
abrasive.
talking about it, it makes it seem like these billionaires aren't paying their fair share because America's made them $1 billion. No, they made themselves $1 billion. And they shouldn't be punished for that. Now, maybe there should be a higher tax percentage at higher tax brackets, but you have to educate the system on who actually resides in these tax brackets. So, like I said, these two people, they're in the Navy with me, and only one of them's higher ranked than me. The other one's the same rank as me, right? So I make the same amount of money as one of the people in this relationship, and the other person makes maybe $150 or $200 more a paycheck than I do, right? So, but because of them both working together, figuring it out, succeeding, they're paying significantly more in taxes annually than I am. They shouldn't have to pay more because the percentage is supposed to make that difference. You know what I'm saying? So if I pay 10% on let's say I make $30,000 a year. If I pay 10% on that, I pay my share. And if they make $60,000 a year, they should only pay 10% on $60,000. They shouldn't have to be in a 23% tax bracket instead of my 10% just because they make more money.
So do you think that to solve this issue would be a lower federal tax?
Well,
and maybe maybe a little bit higher state tax?
So we are in too far of a hole to get rid of a federal tax, and the income tax is really small anyways. Like it's not substantial, especially if you budget.
It is for people that are single and make a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They
get taxed a
lot. Isn't that fucked up that there's different taxes?
It is. Right. It is. I think that is fucked. But how do you solve that problem though? That's the problem. How do we solve that issue?
I think it's actually one of those things that might be fairly simple, and we try to complicate it by catering to the masses. When we educate these children in college saying that these billionaires aren't paying their fair share, these billionaires are paying... We use Donald Trump's taxes. If you pay $23 million in an income tax, that's more money than the rest of the country has that he already paid in the taxes. You kind of understand what I'm saying? So how much are they supposed to contribute? Like, it's fucked up to say that this dude that has a bunch of money has to get more taken from him. Like,
well, if you think of money, our country's currency, as a finite resource, how it's supposed to be.
Because it's Treasury and the Federal Reserve.
It's not, yes. But on that premise, if someone were to accumulate the majority of the money of the nation, if there was a small group of individuals that had the majority of the wealth of the entire nation, how do you make up that money from a bunch of people that are poor as shit?
No, that's the fucked up thing, because the taxes is theft, right? So I don't want to pay taxes, but I have to. So since they're saying it's a blanket statement, everyone has to pay taxes, you have to throw that out the fucking window. Our society isn't funded by income taxes or state taxes.
Okay, so
our society is funded by money that gets.
The point is at what point is it fair?
Well, here's the
if all the money is taken up, but it's based on that idea.
The idea is flawed because, all right, these guys that have all this wealth, it's not quantified liquid funding. It's in our economy. Like, all their money is in our stock market.
Like assets and shit.
Yeah, so they're doing the right thing. But what happens is when you increase these taxes on these rich people, they stop.
It causes other things to happen.
Have more business write-offs, have more this, have more that to stay rich.
Yeah.
But the money that they profit, it just goes into the stock market. And we need the stock market money, right? So the fucking dude that makes $30,000 a year isn't funding our stock market, keeping this economy alive. The dude making $6 billion a year is. So
what if we just cut the federal?
Just cut the federal tax?
And just kept it state?
Well, no, we can't do that because the states have already fucking become... You know what states are? States are fucking single mothers with 3 kids. They're living off welfare.
Yes. And they're living off welfare,
That's what Donald Trump
here's
wants
the
to
thing:
fucking
is sanctuary
change.
states, sanctuary states.
Cities.
No, California is going to be a sanctuary state, bro.
What Donald Trump, he's revoking all funding to sanctuary cities.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But California is the 6th largest economy in the world. That's what I'm saying. So we technically don't need federal funding.
Correct.
We can be our own shit. But the problem is we're too democratic over here. We're too liberal. We could never afford that.
California is a Republican state.
I know.
All right, but reality is like maybe like the income tax I find to be necessary because it funds the military and it funds important things that states have nothing to do with, right? So we can agree to disagree or whatever.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
Like I said, our income tax, more or less, if you do your paperwork right, it comes back to you at the end of the year. It's supposed to.
Yeah, it does.
But like I said, if you
unless you didn't have Obamacare.
So when we were talking about the inherently lazy
fucking
thing,
Obamacare.
Right? If American citizens weren't inherently lazy, and if American citizens kept up with all their funding and payments, and if they managed their taxes well, at the end of the year they would get every single dollar back from the income from the federal tax.
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything.
You'll get a credit for giving. They give you a credit for giving them money too.
Yeah, the earned income tax
you get a
credit.
Small, tiny slice of the interest that they got from your money through the year. So ultimately, taxes can be fair, right? Saying, hey.
Yeah. It's just knowledge. It's just knowledge. It's just people. But people are inherently lazy.
I love America. I want to be here. I love everything America stands for. It shouldn't hurt your feelings that America needs to borrow some money for the year, but they'll give it back. Like, it's not like it's your friend that needs to borrow $200 and then rolls the fuck out and never talks to you again. You're going to get your money back. They want to give you your money back so bad, they will send you to jail for not filing your taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not talking about the people that avoid their taxes so they don't have to pay them. I'm talking like, if you don't pay your fucking taxes a couple years in a row, even if the government owes you money, they will try to arrest you because they want you to file your taxes so they can pay you back.
Because it's not good to have money in there that doesn't belong to them.
So they want every American citizen to get their money back, right? And they want everyone to do their taxes. And if
that sounds so weird though. But only people that have worked within the government understand why that makes sense.
And there's so many things at a federal level that need to be funded. You can't just print that money. That's got to come from somewhere. So
And another thing, you can never have a surplus at the end of a fiscal year,
or else it
ever,
fucks your budget.
because that means you get less funding. Yes, you get less
fucks your budget
funding.
up.
So they always want to give their money, like they always want to be able to get more money back.
And it's not financially responsible at all. So the big thing is, these people are like, well, rich people should be taxed more. No, because people aren't taxed every $200 you make, you have to pay $1. That's not how it goes. You're taxed on a flat percentage, and maybe the percentage can be slightly higher for rich people, right? But I think that 48% on $1 million is too much.
I would say so.
And that's
I would
where
say
it's
so.
at.
Yeah, because personally, because if you look at it from a personal perspective, because there's always a potential chance that any one of us could become a millionaire, right? And if I make $1 million, I do not want to see 400% of that shit disappear.
Yeah. And so
$460,000 of that $1 million disappear. You know how goddamn disappointed I would be? I would hope that at the end of that year I would get that $460,000 back.
And the way it works is that's not talking about your income, right? I'm not talking about, like, rich people get taxed on
assets and all that shit.
Man. So like they're paying the shit out of our taxes. But we have 6 billionaires in America. How much are they supposed to pay in taxes?
Dude, China has like 50.
Well, China also uses coal, and they run the market on sweatshops.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
It's true, man. But
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Billionaires in this country. How much are they supposed to pay?
I would 6 billionaires a year. I think
they can lose $1 million.
A fair share.
$2 million. They can lose $50 million and never even see it.
No, I'm thinking way more than that. I'm thinking $1 billion. Like the billionaires we're talking about are like extreme. Like Donald Trump is probably the lowest on the totem pole of billionaires.
I think he actually just grossed $1 billion once.
Okay,
and that's why he's a billionaire. Right now, he doesn't have $1 billion.
I think it should absolutely be based on your annual income, not your overall income.
That's when these guys have to make those cuts so they don't lose money, because the more money that they say they have at the end of the year, like we talked about the surplus, the more money they get taxed, which is less money that they can put in the stock market. Because these dudes, they don't.
But here's the thing, though.
Money
like
talks.
let's talk about the employees, though. Let's talk about employees. And a lot of times these motherfuckers that are billionaires they're billionaires because they cut costs at every fucking edge that they possibly can legally.
Is a billionaire, and nobody doesn't want to work at Google.
But Google is an exception. That's like being raped by her father.
Oh yeah. I guess it is.
Special exception.
It's 1/6 of what I'm talking about.
I'm talking big corporations like financial firms or hospitals or big pharma, like these places that only focus on the top dollar, and at the end of the day, how much money can you make?
Yeah.
Those corporations need to die out, and we need more corporations that are worried about their employees and their product, and that is it. If they have excellent employees and they have excellent product, they're forever always going to be rich.
Perfect example.
They're always going to be rich.
In-N-Out's
always.
Perfect example of what
and
you're
then
talking about.
they need to do that.
In-N-Out is a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Yes. In-N-Out and Starbucks. I've heard a lot about Starbucks recently.
The only issue I have with Starbucks is like people will work there on the one day hope 8 years later that they'll manage a Starbucks.
Yeah, but if you read all the books that I read,
Starbucks is good.
If you read all the books that, but it just requires a shit ton of work. I don't
bash Starbucks.
It provides the opportunity, but it doesn't guarantee.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I don't bash Starbucks because I think there's a lot of potential for growth there. But people will actually go there to be a barista because maybe 8 years later they'll run one. It's
a stupid idea.
But I don't have that problem. But Starbucks is a perfect idea. Like, it's $1 billion a year industry. The people that work there don't want to quit.
You know the reason why they're so good is because they constantly educate their employees every year. They're constantly re-educating them.
Get college credits and college courses. There's
mindset.
lots of good stuff, and In-N-Out's the same way, man. And that's what we're talking. Like, well, In-N-Out isn't $1 billion a year industry, but it is.
Stater Brothers is. Stater Brothers
President
is.
and CEO of Stater Brothers graduated from San Bernardino High School. What's up?
He just died.
Oh,
Yeah, he just died like 2 months ago, maybe.
he took over the Koch brothers.
The old CEO of Robertson's, a failed CEO of Robertson's.
Failed CEO.
He was a failed CEO. He failed that corporate. I think it was Ralph's, actually, not Robertson. I think it was Ralph's. Is it Albertson's?
Ralph's too, though.
It was one of them, and he failed in that business, and they went bankrupt. And I never really understood why, like, the government and other businesses would bother hiring a CEO of anything that failed. I don't understand that. Is it because they looked into the paperwork and saw that it wasn't all him?
Well, Albertsons failed because of Stater Brothers.
Stater Brothers was the bees, knees, elbows,
That's
and the
why.
arms.
Yeah, so Albertsons and Ralph's got fucking destroyed by Stater Brothers after they started opening stores. And Food for Less is Ralph's too. So you think about that. Like, Food for Less is a shitty ass place.
But it's always going to be here. It's never going to close down.
But
yeah.
I'm saying, like, Albertsons, it failed because the better product, the newer, better product showed up. And they didn't adapt.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the CEO's fault because it failed quick. So
I don't understand how nowadays businesses don't understand the idea of adaptation.
And
how crucial it is to
It kind of
survive.
goes back to what we were saying. If you got a good product and you take care of your people, it'd be all right. But if your product and the way you're doing it makes you $1 million, and someone's like, "You got to change this," sometimes you stand on your morals sometimes and just take the L. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like if I owned a business and I made $1 million a year on my business, and they're like, "You could make $2 million a year if you exported your stuff to China," I would never do that.
Yeah.
Ever in a million years.
Yeah, because you don't have because you have a sense of pride.
And
I think that's probably what it is. People lack a sense of pride in anything. They only see pride in money, and when you see pride in money, you have no. What is that word? You have no loyalty to anything but the money. So you go where the money is.
And that's a problem sometimes.
All the time.
Sometimes
all
it's
the time.
not.
What are you talking about? It's written about. People write books about this shit, about how following the money is the fallacy of mankind. Following fame and fortune is the fallacy of humans, rather than following spirituality and community.
It used to only be when we used to follow the food. Yeah.
That was back in the day, dog. You're talking about way back in the day.
When we were
You're talking about when we were still in diapers.
Goddamn government wiretaps. All right.
No, it was all about survival. That's all it was. There was gossip. I guarantee you there was gossip. You think while the dudes were out hunting, the female hunter and gatherers weren't gossiping about their
my guy could rip a bull's head off with his bare hands. And it's like, my guy's got a little baby dick.
However the fuck they talk, clickety clack. Yeah, who knows, man? Like, we're human. Yeah. I would imagine that our inherent natures were inherent back then.
Well, yeah, and my thing, like, all right, it's kind of going off topic. Like, life is on the coast, right? Did you see that whole spiel about California's water mining and why California is always in a drought?
About how Nestle has been tapping Lake Arrowhead since the 80s illegally.
It was before that. So I just read all this stuff about, like, it was during the gold rush in California that people didn't come over here in troves. Like, the rich people didn't come over here in troves to take gold. They came here to irrigate to the Midwest. So
But isn't the reverse happening right now? Aren't we taking water from the Colorado and the Santa Ana Valley?
It's our water. Like, a lot of these things that are natural places have been like man altered. Because California used to have all the water, and there was no water in
Well, Southern California did.
Well,
yes. San Bernardino County
Well,
was rich in water.
All the water existed in California for like the entire western coast. So
The
Oregon,
Carousel
Utah,
Mall
Idaho,
was built on top of
Nevada, Arizona, even New Mexico, and like all those states actually have irrigation from California, taking water from California.
Is that during the time? That was probably around the time of the Dust Bowl. The Dust,
no,
that famous
the
Dust Bowl
was the
issue.
Great Depression.
Was it?
But
Do you think it happened after that?
no,
Like
no,
we decided, like we
that
need
irrigation
water
stuff
over here,
happened
dog.
in 1849.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So you know when they were like importing all the Chinese slaves to make the railroads from coast to coast.
Yeah, the Santa Anas
So
and
what
all that.
happened was they weren't coming over here to take gold from California.
No, they're coming over to fucking build irrigation and bring water to the Midwest.
Because the money was in the Midwest, because they knew that you can't be a billionaire on the coast because that's where all the billionaires are going to be. So if you could take, if you could
Okay,
take the
I get
good
it.
part of being close to the water somewhere where you don't need to be close to the water, you're going to be more successful. So that's what happened. That's what, like, you know, a lot of California's high desert.
So this is just another. It's just another story about how capitalism ruined
and that was
the
in the
world.
1800s, man.
Still to this day, I still believe if it's the capitalist mindset that is driving our nation, then we are doomed to fail. We have to evolve. We have to grow up. We have to graduate as a society to a point of enlightenment, so that we can live past these physical needs, so that we can live longer and greater lives, rather than the few living prosperous and luxurious and boats and hose lives, and the few. There has to be a balance between the yin and the yang. So I would imagine the middle class would eventually be like where everybody should be.
Well, that's
in a perfect world, middle class is like utopia.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. What we considered that top 5% as being the middle class of someone only making $150,000 in today's economy.
And that's like going back to your point of that one British guy, or the one racist guy that you didn't know was racist, where he was saying like he's not racist, but he doesn't want his environment changing.
I won't call him racist because I don't know anything about him. He's probably a huge bigot.
Well, either way, his argument wasn't racist. It was based on the idea of culture, and people do need to recognize that. Like even San Bernardino culture compared to LA culture is completely different. San Bernardino culture compared to Texas culture is completely different.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee you, motherfuckers, like I don't want people from LA moving into San Bernardino.
No,
I don't.
Faggy.
I don't want anybody from LA. I want LA to stay in LA. I want San Bernardino to stay in San Bernardino.
Absolutely.
Because the community can't grow if cultures are continuously changing.
That's where the fallacy is when people are saying America's a melting pot. No, it's not. Melting pots are doomed to fail, always. If everyone doesn't have some sort of similar cultural belief, then the society is going to fail. I'm not saying everyone's got to be in line
aside
robots, right? Like that's...
Well, aside from New York was a huge melting pot, and they worked itself out.
New York, that's New York culture.
Yeah.
Right, but that
working itself out.
I know
It became
like a big city. It's a really small city, so like.
Yeah, I know.
So.
But see, that's the idea of media, though. That's the problem with media, is because it conveys the idea that is what America is like.
Go into the statistics and all the history that guy that might be racist was talking about. New York is a melting pot of different European cultures, so it's all European. Well, you know, like the Puerto Ricans just showed up,
and Hispanic, and Hispanic. They showed up in around the 70s and the 60s.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then when did crime, go rampant through the roof? And that's not saying that it's because Puerto Ricans are criminals. Obviously, I'm saying like all the immigrants in New York.
That can't be fair,
in
would
the
never say
simple
that.
aspect of media and the expansion
Right.
of that throughout
Yeah, so
the
all
years.
I'm
So
saying is-
so like today we get so much negative content about what all these fucked up people are doing all the time. Not even 20 years ago we would get an OJ story.
And the
You know
big
what I mean?
thing about it is like we're talking about the melting pot thing in New York. Like it was all white European culture. That is they're all the same culture. They just eat different food. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Different cultures, different foods, but they come from the same area that
Judeo-Christian
have
beliefs
that
are
have shared
pretty much-
the same
none of them,
history.
like, they're sure, and that was the problem with the Irish, right?
They didn't share the same
they
history.
were-
Yeah, that's why the Irish were slaves and fucking treated
They
like
were treated
shit.
like dirt, but they came from like a savage poverty at that time too. Like the Irish who immigrated here on the boats during the potato famine and stuff like that. Those are the shit in the street people we were talking about last time. But they assimilated to survive. And the concept is like that European culture all worked because they were all about as civilized as each other. Now, when you add to the fact of different cultures, some different civilized cultures seem a lot less civilized than others. So that's where you go into. So like there wasn't these huge crime sprees in New York that were definitely the media. You had a good point about that. But then you think about, okay, yeah, now New York is a culturally diverse area. Sure, and murder rates in New York per 100,000 aren't really that high. Sure, but the majority of people in New York are white Europeans. So it's not a crazy melting pot. And then, like we said last time, the only cultural diversity that this country should really have is the food at the restaurants. Like we should all have some sort.
Culturally,
Yeah.
okay, I can, and maybe
Outside of your
celebrations,
home.
certain celebrations outside of your home.
That's all I'm getting at. Like outside of your home, like you should like I said, my son's,
I agree with that. Just like
my son's half
Mexicans
Mexican,
celebrating
so I want him
quinceañeras.
to be richly educated in his history as a Mexican. I want that for him.
Yeah.
But outside of our house, he's an American. You know what I mean? So we got.
How about this? How about every immigrant should inherit the American core values?
And that's where we failed ultimately because we didn't force them to assimilate. And I know it sounds fucked up when I use the word force, but when we catered to their culture that they abandoned for obvious reasons,
They try to integrate.
they didn't come to America and get what America has to offer.
Yeah, and they want to propagate their culture based on habit, just because that's all they've ever known, and when they're away from it, just like San Bernardino, when people are away from San Bernardino, they start to brag about it, and California, but it's one of those things that you don't consciously understand that you're doing until it's like too late, bro.
And
You know what I mean?
And then people fail that way too. And when you say that this is a melting pot, you instantly force someone to believe that their culture is different than someone else's. American culture, in its entirety, is not diverse.
It's more of an idea.
It's an ideology that was created, and I'm not saying it was created by white men. White European men.
It really was.
All about the same. They were all.
It was a bunch of white hippies that said "fuck
Instead
Britain."
of long hair, they had powdered wigs. Now,
Yes,
but
they were
their
all
ideals
trannies.
were all set in stone based on their same common belief system. So, like the Dutch, the English, all these people were all about as civilized as each other. So it wasn't a loss in discussion. And France was civilized, and all the other countries that we were allied with when this happened, like we all had the same basic moral views. So when other places that came at the time when Germany started immigrating, nobody wanted Germans here because they were too like regressed. Like they didn't fit into American culture when they came here. And then after the Germans forced themselves to assimilate and did well. Then the Irish came, and it was a lot harder, right? But the Irish still had the fact that they were like, there's plenty of Protestant Irish, And the one thing that like settler Americans hated more than a witch was a Catholic. So yeah, so everyone, like most of the people that came over here were Protestant Europeans. There wasn't a single Catholic in this country when it was founded, and that was the thing. Like everyone had at least a similar viewpoint, so it's easier. That cultural diversity, sure, it existed, but only when they're eating schnitzel or eating fucking haggis or eating,
When it came to food,
that was the only real cultural thing. Like everyone had their New Year's, everyone had their Independence thing, whatever. People had their common practices. Like if you go like to a place in New York City that's all Irish, St. Patty's Day is going to be lit, right? And everyone's okay with that. But after St. Patrick's Day, well, this all and ultimately you got to understand that's a lot of that's all Americans celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
Maybe that's why holidays are invented.
Yeah. So
that cultures can express themselves.
The
there you go.
I'm a huge fan of the fact that a lot of places in America celebrate Cinco de Mayo, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's not a lot of Mexicans in America.
Are you sure about
it's
that?
Only 30 million. It's a shitload, dude. I'm just fucking.
That's like
shit.
Like 11 of that is just LA.
And that, but like, all right, so I said
11.
I was only talking about undocumented aliens. So there's probably a lot more than that. So
that's all it is, undocumented.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. The illegals. We don't care about anybody else.
Cinco de Mayo is all good and well, right? And I'm glad we support that. And I wish that there was other large country-related holidays that we were more educated on.
There's the Chinese New Year. There's the Puerto Rican festival in Florida.
And that's cool. And I love that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, if it's not Americans celebrating those holidays, then we're flawed. Because if someone ultimately refers himself as a Mexican-American, yes, you have Mexican culture, and
I hate that too.
American is where it stops. I don't want to hear American Mexican. I don't want to hear Mexican American.
Yeah, because American is a blanket. It's a blanket.
You're fucking brown. Okay, so I don't give a fuck where you're from. It's where you're at.
You shouldn't. It shouldn't matter.
Your culture
shouldn't matter.
Your culture on me, right? So if you like sign a paper saying you're Mexican American, I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck because I can see that you're brown, but I know that you're American.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're from Mexico does nothing for me because I don't care if you're from Mexico because I care that you're American. So we put that simple title before American. Nothing should be for American. First of all,
it makes it seem like they're more proud of that nation than this nation.
You remember when we were in high school and those walkouts happened? And people were waving Mexican flags in the street and bashing police cars with frozen water bottles?
It's like,
You're
why?
in America, man.
Yeah, like, you left Mexico to come here. It's like us going there, right? Really and going to school. It's like us sending our children to the elementary school in Mexico. They grow up in the elementary school. They go to the middle school. Then they make it to high school. And then they're like riding, waving around the American flag, throwing ice bottles. God damn it.
That's the entitlement. And you know what's fucked up? That cultural propagation is the same thing as Sharia law.
Oh.
But we just...
Wait.
Yeah, it's the same thing as fucking Sharia law. But the only issue...
Yeah, but Sharia law, no, it's different. It's more
Obviously,
extreme.
Tony, it's different.
Yeah, and okay, but
it's the same
I don't like the trivial. I don't like the trivialization of it.
I'm
though.
not saying that.
I think people need to understand what the fuck that means.
All right, yeah, I'll explain it.
That mean like I.
All right,
go ahead.
So I'm not saying that enhancing Mexican culture in America is the same as Sharia law in impact and negativity. I'm saying it's the same basic principle. That's all I'm saying. Obviously, I am not comparing Mexican immigrants to radical Muslim terrorists. I am not doing that. But what I'm saying is the basic core
I was just comparing it to the idea
the exact same.
of Sharia law.
Because they're coming to America and trying to make Americans practice Sharia law.
No, that's never gonna
No,
fucking
but-
happen. Girls love showing their
It's the
shit
same
off.
thing as like coming to America and forcing Americans to speak Spanish.
And you know whose fault that is? It's the media's
It's
fault.
because fucking that faggot that owns New York Times. He's best friends with the president of Mexico.
Yeah, what a dude. I used to. Anytime I see Washington Post, New York Times, I automatically don't value what they put. Ever. I don't. Because they've been known to propagandize and
What's his fucking
fucking
name?
cater to fucking bullshit. And it's just, once they do something like that, they lose their credibility. And once you lose your credibility, that's it.
Is it Time Magazine?
The New York, I don't know. I don't fucking read newspapers, dude. I don't read newspapers, dude. All right? You know how I am, bro. I'm all about the YouTube conspiracy videos.
Time Magazine. I redact my statement. I wasn't talking about New York Times. I was talking about Time Magazine and Telecom. Their own.
Fuck Telecom. Telecom's probably the motherfuckers that are providing this internet anyways. Fuck them. Wasn't America founded on the idea that monopolies shouldn't
Monopolies
happen?
were illegal until Starbucks. Yeah.
Was it? Or McDonald's?
McDonald's was never a monopoly because there's tons of competition. Burger King or Taco Bell makes more money annually than McDonald's does.
Taco Bell's disgusting.
Taco Bell breakfast is off the fucking chain though. But regardless, that's new.
Fuck that. Taco Bell uses fake meat and fake cheese, so it's
Taco
disgusting.
Bell has been voted the healthiest of all the fast food chains.
But that's so not true. Their meat says expiration pending upon consumer consumption on the box. I swear to God, my ex-wife works for Chick-fil-A and they did a tour of Taco Bell. And that's what she told me. That's what they told her, and that's what they told me. Expiration pending consumer consumption. Meat should have a fucking deadline. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying McDonald's isn't a monopoly.
What about Del Taco? Del Taco is way better than Taco Bell.
But Del Taco is
They cook their beans every day.
Is a West Coast chain.
Yes. No, it's from right here in San Bernardino. Taco
I know
Tia.
where Del Taco's from. I know we're talking about Taco Bell's from San Bernardino. McDonald's is from San Bernardino.
Yes, but Del
Taco
Taco
Bell, the
came
first
from
Taco Bell ever was opened in San Bernardino, California.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Del
that's
Taco.
what I'm saying. Like Del Taco is only in California and in the West Coast.
Yeah. Because it came out of Taco Tia. If by my house, I still have the original. I think it's the
Taco
original
Tia? It's just
Taco
off the
Tia.
chain, dude.
Yeah, nobody ever goes
My
there.
mom would take us to Taco Tia or Taco Tio all the time.
Last time I went there was when I was with Tom, and I finished working at his lot, and he bought me lunch.
They had the good tacos.
That was the last time I went there.
Tia.
Yeah, but the creator of Taco Tia, whatever the fuck, I can't think straight, was the creator of Del Taco, the amazing chain that is now, that he capitalized on these stoners.
Yeah.
Okay, think about that. Capitalized on the stoners. One of the first 24 hours. One of the very first 24-hour drive-thrus. All the time. All right? Cheap food. Dollar burritos. Now they're coming out with cheaper food. 59-cent fucking this, that. Motherfucking capitalism is real in the IE, bitch. This is where shit happens.
The only argument I was making is McDonald's is a monopoly, but Starbucks is. Show me another coffee chain.
Coffee chain, Coffee Bean.
Tell me 3 locations outside of the one you know.
Ontario, Rancho, and downtown San Bernardino.
One outside of San Bernardino County.
Well, I don't travel outside of San Bernardino County, so I can't tell you.
You probably know of 10 Starbucks in San Bernardino City.
Yeah, no, not 10.
There's probably at least 10.
Like
There's
4.
260,000 people in San Bernardino City, I'm sure.
I can recall 4.
Okay, so you know 4 just in the city you're in, and you can only name 3 outside. Well, that's all I'm getting at. So Starbucks is absolutely without a doubt
Starbucks
a
is
monopoly.
huge.
And it was
Yes, definitely.
illegal to have a monopoly until Starbucks became one. So I don't know what changed.
What changed was the I would imagine building size. So if you think employee to building ratio of all other competitors, it might be the same, you know what I mean? But the only difference is they have multiple buildings, but their employee numbers are the same within those buildings. So maybe it doesn't count as a monopoly.
Well, maybe they're bullshitting and saying, well, there's so many local coffee shops, they compete with us.
Maybe it doesn't count as a monopoly because it's a franchise.
I can't own a Starbucks.
No? Can you buy because I know my ex-wife can buy a
Chick-fil-A's
Chick-fil-A.
franchise.
She can own a Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
And actually, I think Naomi can be given a Chick-fil-A from Chick-fil-A.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. But
She doesn't buy it. She gets it
Starbucks
given
is
to
a
her.
franchise. The franchise. McDonald's is a franchise.
You're not supposed to say her name, bruh.
Yeah, McDonald's is a franchise, and Taco Bell's a franchise, and Jack in the Box is a franchise because you can just get one from the company and they'll set you up.
But maybe that's why
Starbucks is a monopoly because it's not a franchise.
Huh.
Yeah, and that's why. And another thing, like Starbucks can control its wages because it's not a franchise. Like you can't make more money at one Starbucks than you can with the other. Like the manager can give you a slight raise.
Okay.
I mean, they always have like charts and graphs, but yeah, Starbucks is not a franchise. Walmart's not a franchise.
No, I mean another monopoly.
Yeah, Walmart is a monopoly. But the reason that Walmart's technically not one is because of what it's labeled as a department store, right? Yeah, so it's not a monopoly because it's a department store. And so is Sears.
So that makes it in between like a warehouse and a store.
Yeah. So like the fact that Walmart is a super center and has a bunch of different things, it's not the only place you can get any of those things. Now, it is the only place you can get the certain brand of clothing, but that would make every store a monopoly. But because Walmart sells so many different things, it can't be a monopoly because it's not the only clothing store in an area. It's not even the highest.
The only grocery store, not the only technology store, not the only.
In no area will it be the highest grossing of each individual component.
But you know the sad part about that is it killed. Like if you go to Highland, right here, where the Walmart Supercenter is right here, it's dead. There's so many old buildings that have just been abandoned for so long. They used to be businesses, and they went out of business because of Walmart.
I agree that's a thing.
Should that now here's the moral question: should that be okay?
I think it should be okay, right? There's a big if here. If the Walmart subsidizes the loss in economic flow, I think that if a Walmart comes into a city, right, and obviously it takes all their business from the other places, it is now responsible to feeding
for their income.
It's responsible now to feed all those people.
I agree. That's fair. I think that's plenty fair.
Like, all right, so when a business buys another business, in the process of that, they have a contract. Like, all right, well, you have to keep all my employees for another year. So if I know Walmart didn't technically buy those places out, but just by being there, it kind of did, except for it didn't have to spend any money. So the rules for Walmart should be as simple as, all right, if you have, or first of all, every single business within a 10-mile radius has to sign a charter saying a Walmart can be there. That's how, like something like that. Like
agreeing to it.
That's fine.
But do you know the problem with that?
It's not free market.
Is well, no, not that. It's just that people don't pay attention to local government.
That's the problem. Everyone's so worried about the primary and the presidential election, which has nothing to do with being an American citizen. Who's the governor of California?
Yeah, Jerry Brown.
Now Jerry Brown's a Democrat, and he's
and he's a fucking retard, and nobody knows where he's at.
Jerry Brown's a crybaby too. All right, so. But you know who the governor of California is, right?
Yeah.
Did you vote for the governor of California?
I did. No, I didn't. I missed that. I missed that
Because
election.
you know what? The only time you'll hear it is like right after that fucking J.G. Wentworth commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it'll do.
J.G.
And no one will
Wentworth.
fucking know that it was a Governor Brown commercial because it'd be like, what can Brown do for you? And they'll just think it's a UPS commercial.
Yeah.
So it's all bullshit. But not voting for your actual state government, and actually a big part of it, no one votes in secondary elections, which is like your student council and your sheriff elections and stuff like that.
The council members, the sheriffs, the school
people
board.
People who don't vote for that fuck themselves up too, because like electing a bad sheriff can really fuck your city up.
Yeah, because what if that sheriff's views don't agree with the local society's views? And and it sucks because it's the minority of the rich older Republicans that live in the state, that want to vote in their interests, and they still believe what they believe, and the cultural view has changed, but theirs hasn't. But they're the only ones voting, and people want to wonder why shit hasn't changed. It's because nobody's voting. Everyone's like, voting isn't real, bro.
So like,
voting doesn't matter,
all
bro.
The city leadership is you're probably right. It's probably relatively Republican.
Yes, it's very, and it only benefits the people that have already made money and the people that have retired and want to hold on to their money. And it doesn't benefit the people that are trying to make it.
And stuff like that it's not going to affect you unless you're wealthy. And it's not voting to the point of like being a lobbyist. It's like, hey, and like a lot of these people that are wealthy voting are like, oh, we need a new sheriff. The last one let way too many DUIs go. That's what I'm talking about. Like the sheriff just works at the courthouse. He's in charge of the downtown court. But I'm just saying in general, like the secondaries and the city electorate and stuff like that. Those things.
The electorate is big.
Yeah. Well, when you vote for those people, they don't have an immediate impact on you, so you can't really vote in your interest to the point that you could of a governor or. Even the mayor can't be that corrupt, especially in a bankrupt city. So you're not really getting much out of it. So the people that are voting there are voting on all the issues because maybe the mayor of San Bernardino is like, I want to get this fucking public transit booming. I want to get some jobs in this bitch. I want to do that, this, and that. Well, no one's going to pay attention to that because everyone's fucking smoking meth over by that Burger King across the street from our high school.
Yeah.
That's it. Like the people aren't fucking voting for those people, so they're never gonna get out of the debt. Like San Bernardino's a fucking desolate wasteland when it used to be the best city in America.
It used to be. Yeah. It could still be, man. It could still be. This could be the next Hollywood.
You know why? Because they haven't.
I absolutely believe that.
Any of the buildings down. All the buildings that have ever been built in San Bernardino are still there.
Not only that they didn't tear them down, but they're not even utilizing
and they're
them.
not even getting fucked up by vandalized. Like no one's fucking up Carousel Mall. I don't know why, but no one's fucking it up.
Like I think we need to literally utilize it. Stop with the political bullshit and just say how can we make money and how can we benefit the city. And if we ran on that basis,
it could put all of its money into downtown.
Downtown would be amazing. Like I always now to this day, dude, I envision owning that corner store right across the street from the movie theater.
Right by the big five?
Not right by like adjacent to it, but right on the corner right there.
There used to be a skate shop there.
No, up more. It's still there. The core is still there. I'm talking about up more by the movie theater. Right across from the movie theater, you got the parking structure, and you got that building, you got that corner store.
On the other side.
It's got all those windows. Yes. Dude, like I in my mind and envision an amazing spot for that place, but I will never be able to do it until I succeed in my own right, until like make enough money to where I can be like, I can fucking use that store now.
Because you're not, and you can't financially decide to do that because you will make $0 at a place in downtown San Bernardino.
No, that's not true. I don't believe that. I have a winning recipe in my mind that would guarantee income to that specific location.
You're gonna sell crack?
That's only if zoning permits it. No, I'm talking alcohol license. I'm talking marijuana license. I'm talking comedy club. I'm talking a fucking lounge where people can smoke weed, open? Eat edibles. Yeah, they rebuilt it into the Regal.
Oh, thank God. Regal's so much
Regal
better
bought
than
it.
Star.
Yeah. It's really nice. It's really
and I'm
bougie.
trying to figure out.
It doesn't feel like San Bernardino when you go there. Somebody just got stabbed like last night from there. Yeah, somebody's, even though it's super nice, somebody still got stabbed.
You put lipstick on a pig, dude. It's still a fucking pig.
Yeah, that's why the pig sleeps outside.
Oh, dude, I miss my pig. I used to have a pet pig. Love that thing.
Pigs are annoying.
Cute,
I'm sorry.
Rubs.
I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed by
like
it.
The pig? Why?
No, it's so annoying. It's the most greediest, gross being on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, if you call somebody a pig, that's a real insult. That's a real insult. That's a real insult.
Was an indoor pig. He was potty trained. He used that litter box.
See, that's different.
Huh?
That's different. Mine's an outside pig. I got it already like a couple months old.
What's wrong with her?
You know?
She just eats too much?
Huh?
She just eats too much?
Yeah, that's all she cares about.
That's it. Uh-huh.
Eating. Like the moment the garage, she has a chance to get in the garage, she'll get up and knock down the fucking chicken feed, and she'll just sit there. Like, I'm almost out of chicken feed now because of that bitch. God damn it. Like, it's so annoying, dude. I feed her just like I feed all the other animals, but she just wants to keep going, dude. It's fucking disgusting, and it's gross, and it's annoying.
Well, like our pig, what do you feed your pig? Anything?
Well, I feed her. I used to give her pellets, pig pellets, whatever yeah. But now I'm giving her dog food.
You know, one thing you could do, dog food. Holy shit! It's really
I mean, she's a pig. She can eat what the fuck
good
ever.
To raise your pig's vegetarian though,
dude. The pig eats the backyard that's full of weeds and grass and grubs. The pig's constantly digging up my yard. My whole yard's dug up.
You have to have a pig pen, man.
I think what I'm gonna do is make my whole backyard from the garage and the spa back is gonna be her pig pen. I just got to build 2 gates. That's all I gotta do.
Just get some pallets and some chicken wire to be all right. Just make like I said, if you could probably grow. I mean, I've seen your house, so you could definitely grow enough food at your house to feed the pig.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But the chickens got into where I'm growing my vegetables now.
Yeah,
pecked at the fucking sprouts, those little bitches.
Yeah,
but they don't go over there no more because I sprayed them down with my water hose, and I think I traumatized them.
Funny.
And because I haven't seen them because what I did was I have my. Yeah, they do. They have a coop that's within the turtle cage. And I have recently, since the turtle woke up, I let it out and it just free roams in the yard and sleeps wherever it wants. But the chickens stay in the coop. But like I sectioned off like a quarter of the coop. The coop is like 15 by like 4. Yeah, it's 15 by 4. But like a quarter of that, I chicken wired off like just the bottom half of the chicken wire. So it's probably like 2.5, 3 feet tall. And the first day, the bitches fell off, jumped over that shit or went through the side. And I was like, all right, motherfuckers. I grabbed the water hose and just started spraying them until they got through. And then I left them alone. After they got through on the other side, they never went back again. Ever since then, they never went through that side again.
Chicken therapy? That's so funny, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it comes down to this, dude. When it comes to chickens, the pecking order is a real thing. You need to establish your dominance on them. They need to know.
My buddy's a big fan of owning chickens. He's like, yeah, so it's weird, but you just got to kick the fuck out of them.
Yes, you do. You got to smack them sometimes.
Don't get one.
No. I don't. I have Rocky Mountain Reds. They don't need. Yeah, egg layers. Yeah. That's all I want them for is the eggs and sushi. Yeah, my neighbor got him. My neighbor got 2 miniature or 2 or 3. Yeah, those little tiny ones. Weird looking fucking mutated motherfuckers. And he's got 1 rooster. Like they're so small. My hens are like 2 times the size of his chickens. It's weird. But anyways, dude, we're what is this? It's like we've already gone 3 hours and 20 minutes. You know that, right?
Where am I?
We're
at?
181 minutes into this one, I think.
This is a lot of time we've been talking. Are we gonna cut this into a bunch of episodes? Just one long one?
No, just one long one, bro.
But you want to wrap it up then?
Yeah, man, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna start exiting out of YouTube right now.
Okay.
I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Joint Narcissism. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, especially in Laughable and TuneIn. Those 2 apps. Don't forget to subscribe, rate 5 stars, and leave a review. And I'll suck your dick.
I won't.
A long time. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye.
Yeah.